because that is kind of important for what we do here on this show. Eva, how are you? Bears eat beets. Yes, they eat a lot of other things too. Middle child, thanks for joining us. Paradigma Theories, welcome to our channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Far Flung, good to have you back. Science Bob in the chat room. Delicious Don Hendrickson has come on into the chat room. Mr. Lurks-a-Lot, good to see you. And who else has returned? Oh, there's Super Lou in the chat room. Latro, thanks for coming on in. Noble Patrick, Jerry Weisky, thank you for joining us. The pride of Brandon, Manitoba, they call her the Wheat Queen. Manitoba Becky has returned. All right, who else do we have? Because we are running out of time. Jeff Steve Garvey, thank you for joining us. And Phil Minervino, welcome, my fellow Canadian. And who else do we have? Downshift. Amy Vegas. Oh, looking lovely tonight. Sensational Sherry. Black Triangle. Good to have you here. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do so. We would greatly appreciate it because, you know, we do pay for our followers around here. Nicholas Shaughnessy, thanks for coming on in. We're going to have to cut it off right there. The super chat is open. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, whatever you feel. Zochito Paez, I can't not say that name. Ian and Jeremy, thanks for coming on in. Hey, Rex, how you doing? Horns up. We got Bumblefoot. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We made it to the near end of the month once again, and that means it is time for the SOR Roundtable, where I bring in some friends to kind of go over the month that was in the weird, strange. We will discuss, we will debate, we will laugh, we will cry, and we will have a good time. And if we can, we will also squeeze in some questions from our audience members as well. Joining us tonight, Science Bob is back, as he's got the fedora on tonight. We appreciate Science Bob always being here. From Unidentified Celebrity Review, Lou Jimenez, we call him Super Lou. Underneath his coat, he actually does have a cape. He really does. And the brains of the operations for tonight are Nicole Sakach, author, researcher with Grant Cameron, and from Spaced Out Radio's After Hours, and our TikTok expert, we have Bree, a.k.a. Thin Lizzy Borden. And everybody, thank you so much. We're going to jump right in. We got some major topics to talk about tonight. I don't know if any of you have noticed yet, but have you gone to the To the Stars Academy website recently? Because it's no longer about UFOs. It is a t-shirt company. As they brand about 70 different t-shirts. And I'm telling you, I know I've never been on the page of the To the Stars Academy and what Tom DeLonge did with his crew. I to this day have way too many questions than there are answers for. But does this mean, Nicole, we'll start with you, that the To the Stars Academy is dead as a UFO group? We'll get you to unmute your mic.
That's good, because I needed a big inhale for that. I was like, do you remember a year ago when we were talking about who split, the three guys that split, our three favorite guys from TTSA that left, and we said, is this the end of TTSA again? No. I think it's another mutated version of TTSA. And like they said, or I think it was Tom that actually said at the start of COVID, they are a company. This has hit them the way it has hit other new businesses and new companies. They have shifted gears more towards the entertainment side. So, I mean, T-shirts go with entertainment. So it is what it is. I think they're in a holding pattern and they're going to reemerge with whatever they've had to put on pause. So,
well, I think the big question here also has to come out, Lou Jimenez, that, you know what? I don't think when they had the blow of Steve Justice, Chris Mellon, and Luis Elizondo leaving the To the Stars Academy well over a year ago now, I don't think this team has ever recovered from losing that trifecta of smarts, popularity, and pull in Washington, D.C. So it's obvious that they being Tom DeLonge and Jim Semivan and others, are going to have to kind of shift the game plan a little bit. But does this really show that maybe, just maybe for the time being, they are walking away from the UFO world?
I mean, you said so yourself. They're a T-shirt company. I mean, I don't feel like they're actively searching for anything. They're making movies and books and T-shirts. You know, I don't think they're contributing anything that they propose to investors. You know, back in, what was it now, 2018, when they first publicly came out. So, you know, technically, I guess they're still a company, but I don't look to them for any real, I guess, info or data when it comes to talking about the topic. If Tom's talking, I'll always listen. I'll always listen to what Tom's going to say, but past that, I mean, I really don't have much use for it.
Science Bob, you and I have talked for a couple years about this subject, at times almost daily, about whether or not this group was going to survive, number one. Number two, how would they shift? Number three, would they be able to accomplish any of their goals? As I'll get you to unmute your mic as well, Science Bob, is this a surprise to you or anyone else that, the website about UFOs and trying to bring disclosure and technology to the world is over, or at least looks to
be? Your final revelation in my visit there is pretty surprising. Go look at the bottom of the page. It's nothing but the symbols for the credit cards or PayPal that you can use to buy the merchandise they're hawking on the site. It's not about UFOs anymore. It's not about disclosure. If you listen to Tom DeLonge, he believes they've succeeded, and it's time to move on. So they still have an impressive collection of people in the board of directors, and right below the board of directors on the webpage. I mean, some of these are really, really big names in government circles. So they're not dead, but they're certainly not the leading light. And I agree with your analysis and I wrote them off when Mellon and Elizondo and Justice left. And I think there were others, but those are the big three that left. I wrote them off as having anything major to do with UAPs. It's secret machines and angels and airwaves and T-shirts.
But I mean, how do they survive, Bob? How do they survive with doing this? I mean, they bit off way more they could chew. And if I'm somebody looking at these stocks, whether I put in $200 as the original stock for one stock, or if I put in $10,000, like some people had, and more, I mean, I just pissed away a lot of money, man. Well,
the company hasn't folded yet, so my shares are still there, sitting there, dwindling down to zero. But we'll just, we'll see. I mean, I don't expect ever to see a nickel.
Thin Lizzy, we'll bring you in here because we got to get you all warmed up and fired up in front of the microphone when you make your debut this weekend with the After Hours show, and I'm pretty happy about that. Thank you for joining that team. But what do you think about all this?
I think it's interesting, but he is a musician. That's what they do. They sell T-shirts. He's reverting back to his, band days. But I don't know if he's putting in the towel or if it's just rebranding. So that way that name will be only used for, products. So it's interesting. I'm, going to be looking for more information later on.
I look at you as kind of this younger breed of ufologist and person who is following the phenomena, Liz. And when I look at it, I mean, your generation, much more than mine or Bob's or anyone else's, really builds off of hype. You guys, I think in general, we all as human beings love bright, shiny new things, but your generation really seems to jump on the case of that. And I'm wondering if this takes some sparkle off of the UFO world, knowing this is kind of fallen.
I guess I'm not sure about that. I mean, people are always going to be questioning what they saw. They're always going to want disclosure. So I don't think, them switching to just merchandise is going to take the interest away from the field, from, the newer generation.
All right. Thomas Fessler joining us late tonight. What are you doing late, man? What are you doing late?
Oh, you go through 2 hours of a long show right before this starts. You're talking about a topic that has not been talked about enough, and trying to bring it to the audience's attention and the attention of the community. And then you get wrapped up in that same conversation after it's done, and you realize, oh, you didn't have Alexa set to remind you to come on Dave's show. And it's just like,
that's okay. Cow. That's okay. We're talking about the To the Stars Academy. I don't know if you've checked out their website as of today, where it's gone. It's over. Are you looking at this as, somebody with disclosure tonight, looking at this as this is the end as we know it as a UFO TTSA?
I see it as something that's going to stop a horrible financial bleed for Tom DeLonge. It's something that he's been personally carrying along for a long period of time. If you look at the financial statements coming from the company, he was putting, money after more coming into the organization just to keep it up and running. So from that perspective, it's a good thing. Now, there are some properties or different things there that he may be able to benefit of long term. And don't forget, while the day-to-day overall operations of the company may cease, the different projects that they have up and going with the Army in their lab over in Michigan to go ahead and try and determine what is up with these materials, with these metamaterials from the crash craft, there's an opportunity for him to try and recoup for the money that he was brought in. But you know what? I feel bad for the guy because he's personally been so invested in this. And however it got set up, man, he's been paying the bills, and good for him.
All right. Lou, I want to bring you back in here for a quick second. I want to continue with this topic for a little bit. Where did this go wrong? Because they were the apple of the disclosure movement and UFO Twitter's eyes for so long, from their inception right until the group broke off. Where did this go wrong for you?
I don't know if at any point, I mean, for me, I didn't invest any money in it, so I don't think I could be that angry, that at least they tried from my point of view. But I think from looking from the outside of it, looking in, I'd say they probably went wrong on trying to. It seems like they were trying to build a movie studio and a publishing company and a t-shirt company. before they were trying to do any sort of research or development of technology like they promised. I mean, all of which, either route you go, it's super expensive, but trying to start your own media company, man, you're talking like you would need billions and billions of dollars to do something like that on a level that people are going to, really understand or like be into. For example, like he's making a film, I think it's called The Monsters of California. It's low budget. You need, if you're going to do a movie about something like this, I don't know, that's going to be as impactful, say like The Matrix or something. You're going to need a bigger budget than, what the Monsters of California had.
He was almost trying to create properties that other people would bring to fruition. They were going ahead and trying to create, whether they may have had something in production, but they were actually looking at some of the stuff they were trying to do from the entertainment aspect to try and finance some of the bigger things that they were trying to do in research to try and move forward the exploration, the science part of it.
I think it's part of it is Tom DeLonge is really good at writing songs. He's not good at writing books and scripts.
Yeah, he wasn't the greatest CEO. And when it comes down to any corporation that's going to fail, you have to look at the leadership. What did they do? What they didn't do? And kind of along the time when we had the elections going on, the last round, maybe his time could have been better spent trying to promote and trying to get things going with the overall organization and the goals of TTSA and spending a lot of that time spewing negativity against the election.
All right. Science Bob, I want to bring you in here for a quick second because this was my next question.
I would like to comment on that. So look, everybody involved with TTSA were all in on Hillary Clinton winning in 2016.
That is true.
They were all in. And when that failed, I went, they're in trouble. Yeah. And then shortly after that, after Trump was elected and installed, Gary Nolan left. And Hal Puthoff pulled back. And people just went quiet, dark, left the advisory board. I thought they were in trouble at the inauguration in January of 2017. I went because their entire plan went down the tubes. But she had guaranteed them that she was going to bring stuff out. So there you go.
Bring us in, Nicole.
All right, what were you going to ask?
I was just going to point out, though, since we're going to throw in just a little bit of like the side politics with this, though, like if we're going to pull out that card, though, then we have to acknowledge the other group in the shadows that has been calling this a cash grab the whole time. And that it's like a sort of just like these shell companies we hear that they're started for a purpose to gain whatever they need to gain. And then once it's served its purpose, poof, they're gone.
Except it's hard to be a cash grab. They thought they were going to raise $50 million, and they only raised $6 million, and they were burning cash. They were burning cash.
All right,
they never had any
cash. Let's let Nicole speak.
Look at the monetization of the popularity of getting the word out. As the cash grab. Look at how they elevated this into the public eye. Was that the cash grab?
Well, I want to get to something else here because there's something else important here, Science Bob, I want to discuss with you, and this leads to Sparky's question here in the chat room, which is about the metamaterials and the deal with the Army. How does this play out? Like right now, nothing would change because TTSA is still a company, but I mean, this, in my opinion, really puts those metamaterials back into secrecy into the hands of the military.
Well, so the terms of the contract with the U.S. Army doesn't allow all of that to happen just the way you said that. So, but remember, the Army put up no money, so someone else had to put up the money, and the cooperative arrangement that they had with the Army was they could use the Army's labs to do material studies. So the terms of the contract were several years. I don't remember how many, but I don't believe the period of performance for the contract is over. So it's still in force until the contract ends or TTS ceases to exist. TTSA ceases to exist. So I think it's an idle. I think some of the materials were tested and they were disappointed.
Nicole, I think it's okay though, right? Because there's a ton of other materials outside of just what was given through that CRADA agreement. So,
well, I mean, look, Fessler had the Gary Nolan on, which was a coup, by the way, Tom.
Well, I had the ability to share a video. It wasn't an exact interview with Nolan, but I went through an interview that was freaking, the questions that were asked by Marwa were amazing. And some, she's an unknown from the overall UFO community, but the way she got Gary to talk about the answers and everything, holy cow, talk about a win-win for humanity.
Oh, yeah, it was great. But I would tell you, Nolan's been uniformly negative on the materials. Uniformly.
Well, when you hear Dr. Putoff talk about the materials, he's very vocal about the materials and them being tested and, what they've found and what it could possibly mean and who they've taken the materials to and,
the
all
chain
the
of custody, everything.
follow. Yeah. Well,
and one of the things really quick that Nolan was the most concerned about, the biggest thing Nolan was concerned about, Nicole, I'll pass it back to you, was that he was afraid to make judgments on this because if he goes out and says something, he may be off at someplace, whatever it is, and his reputation will get thrown under the bus.
Right. Well, he toes that line with his counterpart, Jacques Vallée, and they're not going to lead anybody on until it's peer reviewed. And, I think the mystery right now is that we have all these little pieces from a bunch of different places. And what their main goal is, they're acquiring as many pieces as they can from the same incident to try to get all these pieces tested together. But I could be wrong. That's me kind of speculating.
But Nolan said now that we can work with the government and we can get samples from them. You could see the excitement and enthusiasm in his face about, wow, I get more stuff that I can test and put through this. And maybe all that stuff that I'm having to do over here, my regular job, I don't have to do anymore. And I can focus just doing on what my passion is. That's what I loved.
So the materials and other things being reverse engineered and so forth in the NDAA, which is not yet funded, is a really big deal. But there's nothing in that NDAA that says the public has to know anything about the results. I'm sitting and waiting. I'm glad the reverse engineering is going to be done. The materials are going to be worked on. But I hope there are public reports on the materials.
We can pre-write our FOIA requests now, right?
Yes, we should. Exactly. And don't just send them to the CIA. Don't send them to people that do the kind of intelligence gathering that these materials. That would be the DIA.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, considering, when a lot of the information came out, Tom DeLonge was right there to kind of throw his shots at the other guys, saying, you can thank TTSA for this, or I'm the one who started this, because let's face it, when you rock star, there's a lot of ego that goes along with that. And if anybody knows any rock stars personally, you will agree with me when I say that. So, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they can bounce back with this, even with their roster of scientists, unless they plan on going more darker and outside of the public eye. Because I will say this, in my estimation of what went wrong with TTSA, it was one thing. And this was a big one. I believe it was because they absolutely burned the UFO community. They took their biggest cheerleaders and they turned them against them. And that never bodes well for anything. We're going to go to break here right at the bottom of the hour. Roundtable continues next as we're going to talk about death threats to David Paulides. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Nicole Sakach, researcher and author. Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight. From Spaced Out Radio's TikTok and After Hours, Bree, a.k.a. Thin Lizzy Borden. Lou Jimenez from a great show called UCR, and Science Bob McGwier. We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio when we return right after this. Stay tuned, everyone. And I will give everybody a little taste here on something that I found out yesterday and nobody knows. One of the names that we brought up today already, maybe still part of the TTSA, was on a Zoom call with Canada today. And that's all and that's all.
What does that mean? But wait a second, on a Zoom call with Canada, like somebody in Canada, the government that is Canada?
I am waiting for the notes from the meeting.
You know those school robocalls you get? That's what happens in Canada. It's just they dial one number. It's like everybody in Canada picks up. And
well, I can probably guarantee it's not with TTSA Canada.
I think, Daddy, you're onto something, because you remember, I want to remind everybody how thankful and grateful and positive Elizondo has been about the UFO community since he left TTSA. He totally turned it around on that.
Well,
I think it helped because there was a major letter writing and calling campaign to Congress.
By the way, quickly, thank you to Steam Train Mark in Australia, confirming that we are all alive tomorrow, since he lives in the future. Thank you for that. That's very important for us to know. Yeah.
Were we not supposed to make it to tomorrow?
Well, you never know. I mean, heck, you never know what can happen.
Does he report on this every show, or is this just today?
Every show? Okay, we ask him if we're alive tomorrow.
That's excellent. I love it. So at least we know.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Good start to it, everybody.
Wow. I know exactly who. I just figured it out.
What is the business with the cook, Nicole?
Well, what's your guess, Nicole?
That's all I do. That's all I do.
I see.
Bob.
All I'm saying is one of the people that took part in that meeting is in my cell phone.
Man, I love melons.
And I will be contacting that person tomorrow to say, I know what you did yesterday.
Wait, so okay, can you say what you said again?
I have to
be somebody from TTSA had a meeting with Canada.
I have to be very, very careful with what I say, because I was told in confidence that there was a meeting today, and there are certain people who we just talked about. Well, a certain person that we just talked about who was attending a meeting to have a discussion, shall we say.
So do you think they took it all the way back to like Wilbert Smith? You know,
No.
They're like, so
No.
or have they picked it up more current from
I can
there?
tell you right now, they were not talking about the truckers' convoy going on right now.
Well, depending on who they were talking to, maybe that was a welcomed distraction.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Are they planning another landing? Are they gonna build another platform?
Yeah, they need another landing zone.
No. Once again, I am waiting for information on what happened in that meeting, and I personally know a couple people who were in attendance in that meeting.
What's your guess, Nicole?
Out of the people,
I mean, you're allowed to guess, right?
I would guess Chris Mellon.
I'm going to go Lou.
I'll go neither.
Who? I mean, Dave said that he has their phone number. That was one clue he gave us.
Justice.
No.
Is my number 2.
No.
Steve Justice?
Well, out of all the people that have been involved with TTSA,
Gotta be
Dave,
Mellon.
have you ever been with Tom DeLong?
No. But
Okay, then
I
I'd say it's Lou.
did buy the album "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket."
Of the people I know that you've interviewed, out of all the different people involved with TTSA, the only one who's out there, which would be really surprising, is
He didn't
Lou.
say interviewed. He said in his phone.
I know, but someone he would have interviewed would have been in his phone.
Let's just say,
Not necessarily.
let's just say that we got 30 seconds left before we have to go on air. And I want to say a big thank you to Nicola, Obi, Tim, Flash Forward, Sparky, and Daryl for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And I'm very thrilled to have all of you guys here tonight for an amazing panel. And we're going to continue here in about 3 seconds. So stay tuned. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives and go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. The Roundtable continues tonight. We have from Unidentified Celebrity Review, Lou Jimenez. From Disclosure Tonight, Thomas Fessler. From Spaced Out Radio's, where'd she go? TikTok channel. And After Hours, Thin Lizzy Borden, Nicole Sakach, researcher and author, and Science Bob, as we love him around here as well. We're going to kick off with David Paulides here. And yesterday, David Paulides announced that he was not going to be taking in a Sasquatch conference called Squatch Fest in Kelso, Washington, because of death threats that he received from somebody within or group of people within the Bigfoot community who do not agree with his work. And he stated that law enforcement was made known of this and that they were not able to help at this time, so he had to unfortunately decline the investigation regarding his attendance. He was supposed to be the keynote speaker at this event. And let's face it, David Paulides with Missing 411 and Can-Am Missing is a controversial figure in this field. However, it doesn't matter how controversial the person is, nobody deserves death threats on what they are doing and working on. Thomas Fessler, we're going to start with you from Disclosure Tonight. I mean, I know this might be a little bit of news to you, but what do you think about something like this?
Yeah, when people are experiencers and they try to bring information forward, and it's something that they've dealt with, for different parts of their life, to get to the point of dropping death threats and threatening against people for something that they believe in, just kind of crosses that line in general society of, you got to wonder, who in the heck are these whack jobs who are watching this, and why are they still free walking around if they have to get to that point of attacking people for what they believe and what they saw. Some people may or may not agree with it, but it's not like we're looking at something that's as far out there as a lot of religious or political things.
True enough. But I mean, I just can't understand. And this seems to really show the immaturity of many in this field. And it doesn't matter whether it's UFOs. We've seen some nasty things happen in the UFO world. I mean, we've seen nasty things happen in the paranormal world and, of course, in the cryptid world. I mean, this bitter free-for-all, just because you may not agree with someone's opinion or someone's research, that you want to threaten to kill them? I mean, this is horrible, Science Bob.
It is just terrible. I mean, look, Paulides is he's an opinionated person, but he does really, really good work, and I just don't understand. I just don't get this threatening to kill people, and it would. I don't know about the rest of you, but it would make me really happy if they rounded up a few of these people, made a case, and put them in prison.
Lou Jimenez, I know you're more into the UFO side rather than the
Well,
Sasquatch.
I was gonna ask, what was the controversial stance on Bigfoot that David had?
Well, the controversial stance is this. He does a lot with his books, Missing 411, where he takes strange cases where people have just vanished under extremely mysterious circumstances. And there's very little trace of evidence. And just, he believes, I'm not going to speak for him, but he leads you down a path to believe that it's either Sasquatch, Dogman, UFOs, aliens, potentially taking these people, or maybe they're walking through portals and making things happen. But I mean, he's also earned a lot of enemies in the field, not only in the Bigfoot community, who doesn't like the fact that he has profited big time from his writings. They have been very, very questionable about his research studies that he has done. He's upset people in the government, law enforcement agencies, forest park rangers, and national park services because they don't keep a collection of the amount of people who go missing in their parks every year. So he's been an extremely vocal voice on asking hard, tough questions, which has rattled a few people. Add to the fact that he's not, as much as he is a science guy, he believes there's something supernatural, which really upsets the Bigfoot community because they got all of these opinionated non-scientists who believe that this is the North American great ape or Gigantopithecus or some monkey that's living in the forest. So this is where it's kind of jumped in and out.
It sounds like he deserves a couple death threats to me, Dave. I think they're very well warranted. No, any subject, whether it be religion, whether it be chess, whether it be basketball or fandom, there's always going to be this element of just extremism. Always. And I feel like, and I've been learning this last year, that these really loud people are such a minority and they really have no power to cancel anything. And usually when they are trying to cancel something or putting death threats, it's absolutely wild to me. Absolutely wild. If you don't like somebody's information or data, just don't read it. Move on.
The part of his research that fascinates me the most are the children. The ones where 2 and 3, 4-year-olds all of a sudden disappear. Some of them are found dead, but some of them are found an impossible number of miles and over impossible terrain in impossible conditions where they should have died after 30 minutes, but they've gone 20 miles over a day. That's something strange.
I've seen those films, and I'll be honest with you. I feel like the children are the easiest ones to explain. I think you get a bird of prey like an eagle. You ever see how big an eagle can get?
Oh yeah,
they're enormous. For something to swoop down and just pick a 10 or 15 pound kid up, it'd be nothing for an eagle.
That's all true. That's true with the following exception: the number of pounds per inch of pressure from the talons of any of these kind of raptors would leave marks on the children that are not there.
No, that's true. I mean, I think the adults are a little more difficult to explain.
They're harder.
Those to me are a lot more difficult. But the children, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I'm not an expert on this, so I've only seen his films. I haven't read his books, but it seems like some of these might be explainable by just normal predators, but some of them are absolutely weird.
He has a wide range. Some are just like so weird you can't think of a reason. And then some of them are, this might have a prosaic explanation.
Did you guys see that movie? I think it was on Amazon about this award-winning journalist who started researching this Bigfoot story in Northern California, and it ended up being the main story took place around a weed ranch,
I really wanted to see that.
Oh my God, it's so good. So good. It's so good. Highly recommended. I mean, I went into it going, okay, maybe it's a Bigfoot movie. Who knows? Maybe this now find out what's up with Bigfoot. Yeah, and then it ends up being like this awesome murder mystery. It's really good.
Any fool that goes to a hidden ranch with marijuana on it in California deserves whatever they get.
Oh boy,
that's called half of British Columbia.
Stay away.
But the bigger picture here, guys, is this. And Nicole, I want to bring you in on this. Is the fact that when you are dealing with the community like we are with the supernatural, paranormal communities, where there are no governing laws, no governing bodies, no rule books, no nothing for anybody, this is where it is out of control. It's archaic at times. And anarchic as well. So I'm curious, is there ever going to be a day, you think, where we're going to be able to maybe try and clean something up, or somebody's going to try and start, and it sounds so stupid to say, I know this, but that there is going to be some sort of guidelines for people to follow regarding this?
Yeah, get us some real evidence. Get us something that shows that these things are out there and there's definitive proof. I mean, hey, if we're getting chunks of UFOs that we're able to take the metamaterials and start analyzing and getting it there, Bigfoot's been around a lot longer potentially, or the same amount of time. If we can get some real stuff out there to start pushing this narrative forward, that's what we need.
Nicole, you sounded a little masculine there for a second.
No, he was reading my mind, so... My mind, his mouth. I agree with that, and I do think it'll take more evidence. But at the same time, I think in this community, we recognize that it's like we're all leveling up. It's like with ufology, we're realizing it's the consciousness connection. It's more than just nuts and bolts. And I think that's kind of what's going on in this Bigfoot cryptid world. And I think that's where maybe some of this angst comes from these two camps. You have the polites out there that are trying to link more of the phenomenon with Bigfoot, just like in ufology. And so when we have these camps like kind of standing off with each other, like what was the Bigfoot group that we found out that is like leaving out the high strangeness?
The BFRO.
Their cases. So, I mean, that's clear and apparent right there. They do not want to entertain, this woo. Well, sorry, we're going to have to force feed it down their throats, and sooner or later they'll swallow it. Like, that's just how the machine works. Like, 40 years from now, we're all going to be like, can you ever believe they didn't think consciousness was related to UFOs? Like, we're just not there yet, but we're getting there. We all have to do our jobs. And I don't know, like one man's death threat would be another woman's like slut shaming. Like the nasties in this field are nasty. And yeah, it's our job to ignore them and forge ahead. So I don't know, get some body armor and go at it. I mean, he's not afraid of Bigfoot, but he's afraid of some, whack job giving death threats. Like, go to that conference and own it.
Well, I mean, this isn't the first time he has received death threats from people. But I mean, this goes beyond the whole David Politis thing. This goes beyond by an extremely brilliant yet fractured community that if I don't agree with you, I'm going to attack you. If I don't agree with you, I'm going to threaten violence. If I don't agree with you, I'm going to use these type of threats in order to prove my point. I mean, granted, that's every day in every society. We see it in the NFL with fans of the NFL, fans of the NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, college football. You see it all the time where fanaticism kind of takes over. And in this field, the difference between this field and those, Lou, is the fact that there's rules, there's guidelines, there's security in place, and here we're just a bunch of free range chickens trying to get some attention wherever we can get it.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's fair. I mean, I don't know. I just got my first, not death threat, but like, threat of violence, and I was like, oh, you're adorable. Like, I just feel like a lot of these people who are making these death threats are just really angry, lonely people behind keyboards. They usually never show their real identities. I think a lot of it is fluff. I mean, but of course, every once in a while, you do get that just crazy person. But for what I know from David Politis, he's usually armed, isn't he? Like, he's a former cop. Like, I wouldn't mess with David Politis if I was anybody, because you could come away not alive. So,
what was the movie Seven where Brad Pitt got his wife's head in a box? Yeah. Like, nobody wants that situation, but we're already
is
in.
David Politis going to get a head in a box, Nicole?
What's he afraid of? Like I said, like he's going after Sasquatch and he's armed all the time. Like, I don't know.
Well, I think a part of it too is the fact that you never know where. I've been to a conference where there was threats made in Washington State, and they actually brought in a bunch of armed guards to protect that conference. I mean, David Politis has a lot of support, but he has a number of enemies as well, both in government and with fans, and maybe even people who didn't even want him talking about his case or their family's case or something like that. I mean, he has pushed the limits, but I mean, there's also the conspiracy crowd out there too who's saying David's a promotions juggernaut for his work, and this could be a publicity stunt. I don't buy that, but Thomas, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'll have to say this. You bring up Washington State, and that's where I live, and we have some of the strongest cyberbullying laws in the United States, and they will go across state lines. They will go across country lines. So do I know about crazy people sending you threatening materials and stuff that's, hate crime borderline? Yeah. And am I happy to go ahead and take some people who are associated with certain moron channel that's out there on YouTube and go ahead and pass that on to my local police force to go ahead and get that taken care of? Yeah. So there are bunches of wackos and crazies that are out there. You just have to be willing to stand up for what you believe in, and don't let the bullies run your life. You run your life. And if the more you get out there and the more you promote it, the more you say that you're a victim, the more that the bullies are empowered for what they're doing.
I keep having these flashes of like conferences from like 30 and 40 years ago that we catch little like home video glimpses of, like that one where like Phil Schneider's like up there like yelling and holding up his fingers, and you hear people like yelling all the way like from across the auditorium. They're like, "Ah!" It's like, have you guys been to a conference like that in the last 5 years? I've never been to a crazy conference like that.
There was a little incident when I was at UFOCon 2022, and I think Science Bob and I were actually having lunch at this time when it happened, when Carrie Cassidy went absolutely bat crazy on Paul Hynek.
I was at the table with Paul.
Oh, Carrie.
Yeah. And that was when Paul was having his speech up on the stage and talking about his dad's work, J. Allen Hynek. And Carrie Cassidy went absolutely nutbar yelling at him regarding it. And to the point where she was actually asked to escorted out of the conference. It got that bad.
I'm going to have to ask Paul that one. Thanks for that story, Tim. Holy cow.
Yeah. I don't know. You hear about people getting ejected or not allowed back, think they're on a list. Like, they can't come ever again. But it's usually some person in the crowd, not like somebody part of the conference. Oh,
Well, I mean, this is a lady who said that even though there was no satellite footage, that 250,000 Chinese army soldiers were lined up on the Canadian border, ready to, invade the United States. So,
bringing up Carrie, you can't forget the captain.
Well,
that goes along with it.
In some alternate dimension, they are, and she's just a little confused. So
Captain's Venusian, though. He's important.
Well, explain that to our radio audience who may not understand, because even me, I don't even follow a word that she says. Science Bob? Not going there?
But she does have a lot of people who love her, and
No.
she does say a bunch of different things in different areas. Some areas she's kind of in there really well. She knows some really good people and has been involved in some different, Carmen Bolter, who's been one of the top, if you want to call it Egyptologists, going and researching some amazing sites over in Turkey. And now she's been going and working with, the research for Atlantis, which is a much older civilization. So there may be some areas where she's kind of off to the side, but some other areas where she's kind of in there. And it just depends on the information.
aren't we all like that, though? I mean, come on. Like, I like the Palladian rabbit holes that I travel in, and not everybody can swallow the Palladian pill, but you know what I mean? It's just stuff like that. We gotta all get along. That was like what Lou's whole show was about. What was your big telethon? It was like hours and hours and hours of love and coming together, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, the idea of getting under a tent for one cause or one message and just sort of staying on message and putting your personal belief systems to the side. And if you agree with this, then please help us, sort of thing. I mean,
if you listen to all the old timers, though, that's the phenomenon. Just when you think you have it figured out, it woo slaps you into something else. Nobody has the answers. Nobody can give you the definitive answer we all want.
But can we get when we're together? Give E.T. a chance. We need to all come together to make it happen.
Honestly, though, what if it was truly that simple? Just love each other, guys. Come together. If we just come together in love, we're going to get all the answers.
I know, but we're talking about humans. We're talking about humans here, and some humans are just pretty nasty to each other. I mean, we're a tribal species.
But you got to look at it, though, Lou, really. This is the first time we've actually had bipartisan, without an issue, going for the NDAA 2022 approval. And when you had those changes, went through the House and they went through the Senate, bipartisan, both sides said unanimously, let's move this forward with these changes. When's the last time you heard that happening in a government without a fight?
Never.
It's a chance to bring us together.
It's the only topic, one of the few topics that both sides of the House voted on, and unanimously. I think there was only one congressman that didn't vote for it.
Do you think that our government's trying to get ahead of this, though, in lieu of what our community or aspects of our community are trying to push before the United Nations?
I mean, I feel like there's part of it is, I mean, I think things like the Galileo Project, UAPX, ICER, and, all of these different independent groups that are looking at this scientifically and trying to raise money and get legitimate science to look at it and take it seriously and not attach belief systems to it. And I think that is putting pressure a little bit, partly on the security apparatuses within the government, saying, hey, look, it's either going to be an independent science group that shares this with the world, or it could be us. And I think if I was the government, as if it's one thing and it's not so many moving parts, there's so many different things that go into the government. So to paint it with a broad brush is irresponsible. But if the government could realize that they could win a lot of trust if they're the first to the table with this, if they're the first ones to say, okay, look, the last 70 years have been an absolute show, a very crap fest. Here's what we know. This is the new generation of people coming in.
And that's what Avril Haines has been pushing for, Lou. She's been trying to get the overclassification, the putting stuff as, if you want to call it national security, national secrets. We've been classifying too much, and we've lost faith in it, Dave.
All right. Stay right there, panel. We're heating up. It's feeling good. We're going from second gear to third. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. And we're going to get into Jacques Vallée joining the Galileo Project next on the mighty SOR. Thanks, Nicole. Right when my music's playing.
You can slap me on my way out, Nicole.
Hey.
Okay, I have to be done.
I know you're not, Bob. I just wanted.
You're good, man.
I'm not doing good. And Fessler, keep up the good work. You're
Thanks,
really starting to hit it. I mean, some great interviews.
Bobby, can you?
Hey, Bob.
I hate to ask,
Bob,
but
I got one question before you leave.
Yeah.
Have you ever visited Star City?
Yes, I visited Star City.
Awesome. We're going to talk about it later if you can.
Bob, is there a way that you can stick around for one segment? Because I wrote one in specifically for you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I'll stay around for one segment.
One segment. And we'll...
Well, you got to do Jacques Vallée when you come back and then go do that one.
Well, no, Jacques Vallée is going to be a little bit longer than you got.
No, I mean, Vallée's been telling us to look at things differently for his entire life.
Yes.
Just so you know,
since he wrote Passport to Magonia.
Lizzy is having some internet troubles at home. That's why she keeps dropping in and out. She is working on it right now. And no, the topic I wanted to get into with Bob was about Fitbits. Are we missing something here?
Sure.
So that's the reason why I wrote that one specifically for you tonight. And that's,
no, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I need to get one.
It's not only Fitbits. There's all sorts of devices that are for personal use that we should be using.
Well, we'll get into that when we come back.
And we're going to make controversial remarks about MUFON.
Are we?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Cool.
I saw NK just got her MUFON field investigators certification. I was all excited. I told her she could be the state president next. Is that what they call him? State director. I just got in a fight with somebody in MUFON a few weeks ago. Not very happy about it.
Go over their head.
I didn't have to. I put him in his place. It was just
just make sure just make sure to protect yourself so it doesn't happen again.
No, it's people ask me to do stuff for Facebook groups all the time, whether it's like moderate or just like share information, drop stuff into them all the time. Well, this MUFON person asked me with help for their actual MUFON page, and I helped them for a little while, and then I told them that I didn't have time to do it anymore, and I told them this like 20 times over the course of like 5 months. I'm like, can you please take me off like the admin and everything on this site? It's flooding me. I'm not answering anybody back. I can't take care of this. And he ignored me and ignored me and ignored me. So I closed the page. And then I started getting all these hate messages from him. Like, why would I close this page? And I'm a terrible person. And why didn't I get a hold of him? And it was just a shit show. And I was really mad. And I was like, I'm not even a member of MUFON.
F them.
Ugh. I did. So I was like, well, sorry, reactivate your page. It'll come back.
One of these days I'm going to do a panel of woo, and I'm going to bring on Pascal who's in the chat room tonight.
Hey, Pascal. Love you, brother.
Come out and play, Pascal.
This is why we need Pascal in our lives. Pascal, Lou, and Thomas, I know you guys don't know who he is, but he is one of the most important people ever in my life. And he's the one who opened me up to all of my experiences that I've had. And he is one of the biggest dudes you'll ever see, and he'll let you know his strength when he shakes your hand, but he has the biggest heart, and the man is golden, and his connections to whatever is out there is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like, yep. He has the power to heal people, literally.
Wow.
Hallelujah. I've experienced it.
Yeah, I've experienced it.
Chris Bledsoe has experienced it.
I've experienced it. Heck, even my now deceased dog, Zero, experienced it. It's phenomenal. He is... I wish he would go public, but it's not, as he said... He wants to
live his own life. I don't blame him.
I know. Yeah, look.
That's got to be such a strange gift. And I've talked to people who ponder whether or not they should try to pursue if they have that gift or not. Because we know, like, some of us know it's like there's that whole theory of like you're either healed or can heal, or it's like some mixture of both. And so it's like,
oh yeah,
finding experiencers that are fumbling through this. Like, how did Chris Bledsoe decide for the first time that he was going to try to heal somebody?
All right, guys, I got to cut it off right there. We're on in 10. Thank you to all the super chatters.
Amazing.
Thank you to all our new subscribers. And we're going to rock right now, guys.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's the Roundtable, and we're having a great night. And thank you all for joining us. We really do appreciate it, especially if you're listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hubbalobble. Hubbalobble is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the Roundtable tonight. We have Science Bob McGwier for another segment. We have Lou Jimenez from the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight. Nicole Sakach is here, researcher and author. And Thin Lizzy Borden, she's trying to figure out her internet connection. Hopefully she'll be able to rejoin us here in just a little bit. And Bob, I want to get into this with you because you and I had an experience about a number of months ago, and you noticed missing time on your Fitbit. And
no. What I noticed was during the period you said we were having an experience, I thought I was asleep, and my Fitbit said I was wide awake and moving around.
Yes, that's what I meant. Thank you, and I misspoke there for a quick second. But Jonathan Davies, who's a good friend of this show as well, and I know he's in our chat room tonight, he actually put it out on Twitter if any other experiencers have experienced the same thing, Bob, where they believe they have been asleep or having a dream, yet their Fitbit says they have been awake. And because this kind of affects you, I want to start off with you on this one. Could the Fitbit or other types of objects or technology like that lead us to prove about ET contact and abduction?
I believe that it can provide evidence. What we need is a large sample size so that we can do some statistically significant work. And as you know, because the story's been told for ages, MUFON outfitted known experiences with gear to measure all sorts of things so that there would be data gathered while they were having experiences. And James Campion went on Erica's show and let the cat out of the bag. That data has never been opened and looked at. So, I mean, it's just kind of one of these criminal cases where this is just ridiculous.
The real question is Bob, who's had access to this data and who's it been sold to and who is it collected for?
Okay, so it is my belief that Robert Bigelow signed a funding agreement with MUFON where he got all data. But to me, that means the data doesn't exist because Bigelow doesn't publish any of those kinds of results.
But was it for the OSAP program? And if it was, it wouldn't be his property. It'd be property of OSAP.
Different time. It was funded by someone different than the federal government. I believe Bigelow got the data, but what I know is MUFON never had anyone internal go look at the data, and I sure would like to do a statistical
analysis. You believe that, though?
Yeah, because people I trust told me.
But why would they collect it and put it there but never look at it?
I can't tell you why. I only know that's the situation.
Does that sound right to you, Lou? Even?
No, it doesn't sound right to anything. But it just sounds weird.
It sounds odd in the sense until you kind of realize that MUFON and like their field investigating and sighting report collecting is kind of a completely different entity from MUFON and what is now called the Experiencer Response Team, which has their roots back in Opus with Les Velez, who helped them start the ERT, or what was it called before? Experiencer Response Research Team, maybe? I don't know. But their help to experiencers, and Kathleen Martin, I think, championed that for many, many years and has recently stepped down from it. But from what I also understand, though, the ERT has kind of gone through some reshuffling on who they can, or who is working for the ERT and who does like field investigations. It's very different. I'm sure there are some crossovers, but I think this is like the classic pitfall with MUFON or any organization trying to do work like this. There's not enough volunteers.
Yeah, but the problem with MUFON is if you want to be a part of the organization, you have to go through monetizing the people who are there to do the work for them versus finding other ways to bring in funding for it. So it almost makes you look at, so if I want to do stuff and be a part of this and give my time, I'm going to go ahead and have to write a check.
Not necessarily. I mean, I have worked
if you want to be an investigator, you have to buy the documentation.
I've never joined MUFON, but I have done work with various members of it for a long time. I mean, and each group really is different from state to state and chapter to chapter. I mean, each group is what the people make it. So, right. I mean, it's all fine and dandy if you just want to walk in and join some UFO club. Go join one. But if you want to do some serious business, you're going to have to do it yourself.
Let's come back to today's original question. There are lots of devices that are inexpensive that people can buy. They're wearables. There are all sorts of things you can keep in your home, etc., that would allow us to collect data. But again, can you get together enough people, volunteers, or paid, who will write the necessary software and do the data collection and management of it to make sure that the data is trusted by people who can do science on it. As long as we had that, we could do something with it. But it's certainly possible now, unlike it's been impossible before without a lot of money.
Let's get Lou Jimenez in here from Unidentified Celebrity Review. Lou, this is something where, we're all looking to try and get an upper hand. We see the military trying to get an upper hand with their radar systems, trying to figure out if they could track these Tic Tacs. We see potentially the idea that a Fitbit that people wear on their wrist at night could show potentially that they are awake when they should be sleeping, and the person remembers that they're sleeping. Is the technology, or I shouldn't talk about the technology right now, is this maybe a breakthrough that we don't even know about yet because it hasn't been studied regarding the potentiality of finding out what's causing ET contact or when it's happening?
I think I never thought of it, and I think it's a really interesting data point that, I think maybe could possibly be taken advantage of. The thing is like, I don't think the Fitbit or the iWatch will be able to tell if you're sleepwalking, or like it can't read your blood pressure yet, at least not the newest iWatches.
Right, but they can pick up sudden changes in altitude, or they
absolutely. But yeah, like Bob said, that stuff, you got to be careful that it's not faked and that the data is wrong from the device. I think it's an interesting thing. I mean, why not? I mean, I've heard of watches stopping right at the moment of these events, and when they come back, either the watch is a few hours off or has just stopped working at the time that they had their experience. So, sure, why not? But I mean, I would also assume, it might be one of those things where anything electronic just gets completely messed with, and maybe the data gets corrupted. I mean, if this phenomena has the ability to, mess with radios and mess with electronics and vehicles while they're or even nuclear ordinances, who's to say they can't mess with an iWatch?
Looking at this from an analytics standpoint, from a watch platform perspective, the people who own the platforms, not the people. We're talking Fitbit, we're talking Google, we're talking Samsung, we're talking Apple. If they had different devices where all of a sudden they came out of nowhere, their device went to synchronize back up with their time servers, and they found out there was this big chunk of time that was different and they were having to cycle it back in, they track it and try and see if it was a bug. But, to be able to get to those numbers, it's working with the platform holders to anonymize the data to see if it's there, potentially even to watch for it. And then instead of having the people who are signing up for it to be a part of it, everybody on the platform, we can get that data and analyze it from an anonymized perspective just to see, is this really happening out there?
Well, you figure if it's happening at the rate that people claim that it is, there should be iWatches all over the world, going to a couple 100 feet in the air and maybe shutting off and then coming down from a couple 100 feet a few hours later. There should be so much data that software engineers should be going, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. The analytics systems would be just rifled with the information where they could see the patterns coming into it. And you almost would want to wonder from a quality standpoint if they wouldn't be watching for stuff like that to go on. I guess it just comes into getting partnerships with the right people, but with the right team getting to deal with the platform holders and trying to look for these particular trends to identify when and where. But like anything with good UFO pictures, only 5% of the information we're going to be hearing is really going to be the real stuff at the most.
That's the reason you need a lot, so you learn how to sift the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
You have to learn.
It's time for us to start observing them.
Yeah.
Well, it would be interesting to see. I would love to see somebody like Brandon Fugel test out this theory at Skinwalker Ranch. They have a lot of stuff going on there, and if there are people there on his team that have been or claim to be abducted, that would be a great, great piece of information for them to even try out. Maybe they're already doing it. Maybe they already know. Yeah. We don't know. But I think that would be a great starting point to test it on out.
Is anyone on the ranch
Brandon's been hinting that lots of crazy stuff are coming out in season 3. So
there is word on the internet of an incident at a time when some people came up to go ahead and shoot video at that site. Within 5 minutes of them showing up to do their things, a Tic Tac was captured. So season 3 is going to have some cool stuff. You just have to be able to look on the internet whether or not the information was supposed to get out. It's out there.
I don't know. I just want to see.
So we're talking, finally, they're doing like CE5 at Skinwalker. Is that what we're talking about? Season 3? I might actually watch.
I didn't hear about that at all, no.
No. Oh, dang it. Because I
don't think they're meditating and sending out tones.
Come on. You know, sometimes it's more than that. You get in these big, closed, kind of private C5 groups, or I should say heist groups. You know, there's channeling, there's meditation.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you there was a picture on the Discord site from UAPX where Jerry McGowan was in the control room at Skinwalker Ranch. So you just have to put the little pieces of information together.
I love it. Right?
Yeah, it's information. It's out there in the net. You just need to know where to look for it.
Yep.
It's very interesting indeed. But getting back to the technology science, Bob, of the Fitbit, how could this potentially be a game changer for those who are ET abducted? Because not everybody gets abducted physically. They get many people claim that they are taken on an ethereal level type too.
Again, you have to look at all the sensors that are running in these Fitbits or any other device that's near them to see if there are any anomalous things that are being gathered in the data. So again, it's a data-driven thing. We need the data to look for anomalies, and once we have the anomalies, are they associated? I mean, it's just tedious detective work.
But is it hard? I mean, would Apple not be able to tell? I mean, somebody within Apple.
They're not looking. So
an ethereal experience through an iWatch?
I doubt it. But I could be wrong, but I doubt it.
I don't think it could report an ethereal experience through an iPhone or an iWatch or anything like that. But I think if they're taken physically and their watch is still on them, like the situation with Bob, where we don't know what happened there. We really don't know. We have one dream and 90 minutes on a Fitbit.
Yeah, but I never heard about having consciousness sensors on an iPhone or a Fitbit, because that's almost what you're talking about, something. Because when something can come in with consciousness, it can be one little blip, and it's so much more for where the situation really was.
Well said.
But it wouldn't be hard for you to get look, you could buy a Raspberry Pi and put 4 probes into the little header and read EEGs, and you would tell whether or not you were awake. I mean, this is cheap stuff. It's easily done.
So
it's just putting together people that are willing to put the time together to package it so it's easy to use. Anybody can do it and gather the data.
I mean, we've got EEG sensors out there from the youth and other bands where you've got different ones that you have to get on there. But they're all technology where you have to have it positioned in the right way for a certain level of connectivity. A lot of the times you need to have a certain level of saline and different things in the sensors to get there. So it's not readily easily to get data.
Yep.
Well,
I agree.
We got 6 minutes left, and I'm going to change topics here, guys, because I think we beat that one up pretty good. But let's get right to the idea here of Jacques Vallée joining the Galileo project. Is this a win for Avi Loeb's team? Is it just another name to add to an impressive lineup where it's starting to look like a more credible To the Stars Academy? What are we looking at here, Bob?
I do not believe Jacques Vallée is going to reveal all his secrets to the Galileo team. I believe that he is going to be on the advisory board and give them information, advice when needed. I don't think he has time to do the day-to-day science activities for Galileo. He's busy as he can be with all his investment and other activities in Silicon Valley.
Interesting. Okay, so what does this mean, though, to having his presence in this group, the Galileo Project?
There's no doubt in my mind he's going to go in there and he's going to tell them about all of these things he has personally gathered data on, the experiences he's had, and so forth. And then he could tell them that they need to pay attention to something other than asteroids coming from outside of the solar system.
What do you think, Nicole?
I think it's like we mentioned with TTSA and where they went wrong. The Galileo Project knows they need our community's support. Otherwise, we're always going to be going, this is just like SETI. They're pointing, whatever in the sky, and they're looking out there, and not here. We already hear that. I've been saying it a lot. I go back and forth with Galileo. I love what they're doing. I think it needs to be done. But I do not think it aligns with the ufology, the phenomenon community. But I think they want our support, so they're hooking in all of our bigwigs, and we want them to, because we want some of them, whoever they are, scientists spinning out there, we want them in our community. We want them to take us seriously. We want them to make new science to push our field forward. So it's a give and take. Yep. I'm glad Valet's on board because he's the grandfather of our community. He has his roots in astronomy. So there you go. Champion our field. Do it. But 30 years from now, when we're all like, oh, we found one more Oumuamua.
Well, look, everyone remembers Alan Hynek as the guy with the Project Blue Book and became a UFO believer. People don't remember he was a complete skeptic until Jacques Vallée changed his mind.
Oh, yeah. Jacques is not young. He's 80 years old.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with age at all. This is like his heyday, his time to come in, and he is all in on this. I would not doubt it at all. To take all the knowledge he has and to try and give whatever Galileo needs to succeed, to get there, to get the evidence, that needs to take all the information that he knows that he cannot just talk about because of the agreements and where he would end up if he did talking about it, did talk about the situation. So I believe it's Nicole said, it's like the granddaddy coming in. It's like, one of the fathers who came in there and said, no, they're not just necessarily from there. This is a much bigger related topic. They could be from other dimensions, other places. And it was just really trying to have that much more open perspective of the phenomenon that's taken granted for today, because back then, until he challenged the ETH theory, everyone's mindset was someplace else.
And for NIDS and all the other places where Jock was important, he signed non-disclosure agreements, and Bigelow owns all the data.
Hey, Volume 5's coming.
I know.
Volume 5's coming.
It's
being edited right now.
Can't wait.
He's giving up the goods. He knows. Who keeps diaries like that?
10 years,
God,
10 years after. 10 to 15 years after he gives up the goods.
And everybody throws things about Bigelow, but the reality of this situation is, if you look at the operations he had, the different things that's gone on, he spent more money on the phenomenon and research and everything else many times over from what he was paid for the work he's done.
People whine about the $22 million. He spent way more than $22 million on it when the $22 million came in.
Yeah.
All that $22 million did was pay for the scientists to write.
That's why he got the contracts, because the tooling was done, the facilities were put together to handle the kind of research that it called out. And was he reimbursed for any of that?
MAS was up and running before OSAP was put on the street.
Yep.
Yeah. He set himself up to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we've got 33 seconds left, and you know what? We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, and we're having one heck of a great show, great discussion, great debate with Lou Jimenez from UCR, Science Bob McGwier, who I believe is going to have to leave us early tonight, Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight, Thin Lizzy Borden, a.k.a. Bree, who you will hear on our After Hours show. She's a new tribes, part of that new tribe there that we have, and of course she runs our Spaced Out Radio TikTok, and of course, cook, author, researcher, power mom, Nicole Sakach. We will continue with the SOR Roundtable when we return. More about the Galileo Project and much more on Spaced Out Radio right after this. We're clear.
Oh, it was fun,
Great
guys.
conversation.
It was fun, guys. But I gotta go. I am so worn out. I'm really about to nod off right here on my computer.
Yeah. Great conversation, Bob.
You're a
See
champion,
ya.
Bob.
Good
night.
night. Bob.
Science
Press
Bob,
well.
everyone. Well, boy, he didn't even allow us to clap for him. What a jerk. No, I'm teasing.
Tired.
Get out.
Bye, losers.
Yeah, bye, loser.
Science Bob had some medical issues that he had to take care of this week. So the fact that he was able to join us for even a little bit, or half the show, that's pretty cool. But, yeah. It's all up to us now. We have to do it. And hopefully Lizzy's internet connection continues here.
Yeah, it seems to be working better already. I had to restart the router. And I'm on a Chromebook, so I don't have an option to plug in the modem
Lovely.
or the router to it.
I'll
But
be right back. I go to the restroom.
No problem.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. How long until we're back on again, Dave?
We have 3 minutes.
Oh, I got plenty enough time. Thanks.
Yep. I'll just step away here for a second. No, I'm teasing.
So, Dave, I got my answer to question 1. That was a yes to Star City.
I don't even know what
Now
that
I
is.
got to find out if there's been a witness to any launches in Kazakhstan. So, I'm on this. I'm excited.
I see where you're going with that. Hey, Bim Jim.
Hey, this is like 102 homework, not 101 homework.
One second. Hey, Bim Jim, I want to get you on the show, man. You have some wild experiences. I want to get you on the show. Is that something that you would do? I'm waiting. You know, that half hour, we went from 198 viewers down to 171 at one point. That was weird. I've never seen it just go. Bim Jim, do me a favor. Email Bree at spacedoutradio.com. I'm writing it in the chat room. And just send her an email on putting it so we can put it all together for February, if you don't mind. And thank you, Ozzy Ange.
See, Nicole, we work great as a team.
I agree.
Who just
We've
cracked
been
the
on
beer?
together before, haven't we, Thomas?
Of course, yeah. Tonight we're just hitting it off, and it's just going back and forth. It's well.
Good.
Who just
It's
cracked the
good.
beer?
Enjoying it.
Because I'm kind of jealous. I just heard
Sounded good.
It did sound good.
I just cracked a Red Bull, but I was thinking about cracking a beer. I almost grabbed a Dos Equis, but I figured that would have been rude.
Coke Zero and ice and something else.
Wait for it.
Oh, dry toast. Nothing goes better with Spaced Out Radio than dry toast, Dave.
Best name on YouTube right there. Best name
Yes.
on YouTube.
Yes, it's actually 3 out of 4 aliens prefer dry toast when they eat humans than not.
Oh, yeah. You got that right. I love dry toast. I think that is just one of the best names ever. Steam Train Mark, thank you for the awesome super chat. Ozzy Ange, we should put you up there too. And Boy, we're hauling it in tonight. That's kind of cool. Big thank you to Steam Trademark Dry Toast, Aussie Ange, excuse me, Veteran Surf
Rocks ASMR.
Yeah, totally.
Excellent.
Veteran Surf Chair, Apollo, Far Flung ×2, Pascal, Cat Chaser, Patrick, VPXM, Thomas, Dirt Road, Daryl, Nicola, Obi, Tim, and Flash Forward and Sparky. Really appreciate the love tonight, everyone. That really helps out what we do on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for the amazing super chats.
I know, but I didn't take them. I just remembered.
What are you doing?
And I didn't.
I was ASRMing some Pop Rocks.
I knew you were eating Pop Rocks. I'll be honest with you. I gained like 2.5 pounds just listening to that. Thank you.
Hey, I still have half a bag left. That's
I
some
love
powerful
Pop Rocks.
Yeah, but
stuff
Costco
right there.
has these really great that's like turtles with macadamia nuts and caramel covered in chocolate. They are
Oh, sensational sherry. Yes. If you got fresh snow, not the yellow kind, go grab it, fill up your glass, and pour Fireball over it. It tastes fantastic. It really does. Fresh snow and Fireball. And if you want, throw a little caramel or hold on.
Wait a minute.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the Roundtable tonight from Disclosure Tonight. Thomas Fessler from Spaced Out Radio's TikTok and After Hour Show. We got Thin Lizzy, a.k.a. Bree. We have Lou Jimenez from Unidentified Celebrity Review, and Nicole Sakach, researcher and author. We're going to continue on with the Galileo Project here with Jacques Vallée joining it. I mean, you look at their impressive lineup, Thomas, whether it's Vallée now, they have Chris Mellon, they have Lou Jimenez. I mean, this is like a stacked New York Yankees baseball team in the mid-'90s peeling off World Series after World Series. Hold on, I got you on mute here. There we go.
Yeah, it's a great team. It's a great organization that they've put together. It's like, if you want to call it, like, they are bringing on the greats of the people who are involved in it right now, the people who are the shaker and movers who are doing the research. They've got unbelievable of the people they've brought in as academics on the research team, the people who are there from an advisory standpoint, even looking at from a financial standpoint for going ahead and getting the money that the organization needs to fund it to take to the level where it needs. You know, the only person I'm seeing missing on that one right now is Ted Rowe, and beyond that, it's a great lineup. But the thing is, Dave, is there anyone you think is missing?
I think they need a high-quality PR person. That's what I think they need. It was part of the downfall of the SCU, which they have now worked on. And I think it is something that they need to really have in order to be a very strong conductor in this field. And I really do believe that they need to be able to have some sort of PR person that can help get the message out. Lou, let's go back to you here for a second. What do you like about the Galileo Project, and what are some of your concerns?
Well, my concern is they're about $98 million short of their goal. That's my concern. And if somebody's missing, it's like an Elon Musk. I would love to see Elon dump $100 million into something like this. I mean, the thing with the team, these are all great minds, and I think on the surface level it sounds good. But when we've talked to Avi a few times, and there's a core group of scientists, and then they've got all of these advisors. And I think the advisors are there to attract investors, partly, and then the other part of it is to get information, or suggestions. Because Avi's made it very clear he's not looking at past data. He's looking for new data collected with instruments and then measured and combed through, and then scientifically debated, hopefully a paper written about, and then a published paper on their findings. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for Jacques Vallée's metamaterials or Lou Elizondo's 23-minute video. He's not interested in any of that stuff. He's interested in collecting photos that are hopefully cooperative
They want locations to put it more than anything, Lou, and that's one of the reasons that Elizondo was there, is actually to help give him some guidance on where to be placing some of these telescopes, not just necessarily looking on top of the college.
Right. But that's the thing, is that he can only put it on top of the college right now because he doesn't have the funding to put them around the world.
They have to prototype out the platform before they get their lockdown tool set. And once they have that, they can replicate that installation all over the place, wherever they're going to take it. But they have to do their proof of technology first before he can deploy it. And that takes time.
Yeah, agreed. But it's also, they could, they're also not putting them all over the place because they don't have the money to.
Well, and that brings up a good point, Lou, that you're bringing up, is it does come down to money. Do we think, panel, and Bree, let's start with you on this one, because I know you had some internet trouble, and now that we got you back here, I kind of want to get your opinion. Do we think that the lack of money is really showing the lack of interest or faith within the business-type communities that would donate to this? I mean, look, they need an Amazon. They need an Elon Musk. That's the type of money they're talking about, or maybe a Microsoft or something like that. But they're not.
But the Mellon family, from Christopher Mellon, they're one of the richest families in the United States. So they come from a long line of a lot of cash. So it's not like there aren't people in there right now who already don't have a lot of.
Well, I mean, we also didn't see the Mellon family support the TTSA either.
Different organizations.
Well,
TTSA had a podcast where they interviewed Christopher Mellon, and he's not connected to the Mellon family money like a lot of people think he is, at least according to him. So from that aspect, that could be why he's not putting up $100 million. Yeah. But what does Bree think?
I mean, I think, I don't necessarily know. I mean, you could definitely read into things. I mean, I'm sure there's other things that go into play besides, people not trusting their intentions and not giving money.
True.
Yeah, I guess, I'm still learning about that specific aspect of, the Apollo. But I'm hopeful that there'll be, some success. And even if you don't raise or whatever, get to that point of whatever you set it to, it doesn't mean you can't find results, or just because you don't get there doesn't mean you can't,
Yeah. There's got to be a Saudi Prince somewhere we can get the money from.
Does anybody check their spam mail?
No, but you just have to look at who are the people that have the big piles of cash to have the opportunity to invest something like this, or even get large corporations like Apple or whoever else to actually put their mindset and their profits behind it. But I guess it's going to take some more time.
That's kind of the point I'm making. Like, I think outside of the community, I'm kind of excited about this project. It's an endeavor. Let's further, farther, faster. Let's see what's coming in. But when I think of it from our community perspective, like, I'm just not excited about this. Like, I really don't care if in 30 years we know another Oumuamua is coming. We still don't. I mean, I don't care. I just don't care. It's
Yeah. If things still happen like they're going to happen, let's have this talk on the middle of February 15th, and see if you feel the same.
I get excited about like the like solar exploration of like the solar sails, and that might be how we traverse our solar system someday. But I mean, if it doesn't have a flashing sign, if it doesn't have the lights going off of it, like if it's 100 billion years old and from another galaxy, like if it doesn't have like a streamer attached to it, like, hey, we sent this on purpose. Like, I don't know. I think it's not worth getting excited knowing that something is like 50 years down the road on it. I mean, like Lou was saying, they got to build these things across the globe before.
And there may be good networks out there. They're going to have really good stuff. Again, let's talk on the 15th.
Okay.
Because it should be after the thing that should be coming out.
What's happening on the 15th?
Oh, there's something coming by the middle of February that should be some really good stuff that should open everyone's eyes to what's going on with the phenomena. By the 15th is what I've heard.
From the Galileo project, or just like
maybe them, and maybe someone who's just become recently involved with them. But
you're being vague. I'm confused.
Well, sometimes when you talk with people, you can get details out there. But I just want to say, by the middle of February, we should all have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Boy, who pulled that earlier in this conversation? But that's twice tonight. But you know what? You have to take it with a grain of salt too, because so far to this point, we haven't seen a lot about the experience and the ET contact. So if that's the road you're going down, that brings a whole different kettle of fish to the table. Thomas Fessler.
Oh yeah, it does, and it does bring a big kettle of a big kettle to it. But you know what? The way Lou Elizondo came back to us and gave us a preview for what's going to be happening in 2022, and I think we're going to start seeing the evidence we're going to need. I think there's going to be a lot more attention from the media at different parts of this. There's different organizations who are coming into play. So it's we've had a little bit of disclosure up until this point. Disclosure tonight, by the way, little shameless plug. But as we go along through it, it's going to be more stuff's going to be coming along, whether it's going to be this stuff in February, the stuff that's going to be happening on May 15th, I believe, when the Tear from the Sky is coming out based on the stuff going on with UAPX. Check out tearfromthesky.com or tearinthesky.com. It's out there. It's a cool site. Gives you an idea of what's coming towards us, and it's an exciting time to be alive. And I wish we were further along, but for where we're at now and where we're heading towards, we're at the start of a really amazing age.
I want to shift topics here, guys, for a little bit here, because I think we got through that topic pretty darn good here. Lou Elizondo continues to be an extremely polarizing figure in this community. People either love him or they want nothing to do with him. And there is apparently a documentary coming out about him called Who's Lou that's been kind of being put around about a gentleman from Area 503 YouTube channel, goes by Manny, has done this documentary on Lou about whether or not, Lou is who he says he is.
Oh, my God.
And look, I don't care whether we like we know the community, the radio audience doesn't. I don't care what your opinion is of the person or anything like that. But, I mean, we need to take a serious discussion on the fact that, at this point, should Luis Elizondo be as polarizing as he is?
He doesn't even want to be in the position that he has now. He's there to do the job because he's doing it for his duty to his country and to the people of this country. And as soon as he can step away and get this going on, he doesn't want to be in the limelight. And I know Lou knows this personally.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he said. That's what he tells us. I think, I'm sure it's frustrating for him, probably coming out with a story like this and being sort of met with the pushback that he gets met with. But And I'm sure he knew this before going into it. He's not a dumb guy, but I'm sure he knew that he was going to get some of this because, I mean, the government has a trail of being very deceitful so yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he's polarizing, but I try to learn as much about him as I can.
Yeah.
And only time will tell whether or not, he was being 100% honest with us or as honest as he could be with us. We'll see. I personally tend to lean toward he is being honest, but I'm sure there's parts of things that he's maybe not being honest about, keeping close to the vest. I don't know if he's necessarily lying, but, unlike a lot of people in this field, he hasn't been caught in a scandalous lie of tales. He's come out, he's told his story. He hasn't been as specific as some people would like, and I mean, he's under an NDA. That's going to happen.
But the most important part is he has credibility for what he's trying to bring across. He's trying to give us the information he can have. And, he's a really good dancer. Should be in Dancing with the Stars, the way he can tap dance around all of the kind of questions that people answer. He wants to give an answer, but sometimes if you've got the golden handcuffs, you can only say so much. The biggest thing I'm excited about what he has said recently is he has talked about the moment of first contact and how we're going to handle that. And that was in his recent conversation with George Knapp, and that's the first time that we've heard anything in that realm. So it's there's been a regular advancement of his narrative, and I think it's a good thing.
Nicole,
I'm interested in who's funding the documentary.
I think this
and then where it would be released.
I think this is a documentary that is self-funded by the YouTube channel Area 503. I don't know who they've interviewed yet. I do believe they have not interviewed Luis Elizondo regarding this, whether or not they actually reached out to him or not. I don't know.
They wanted to use my footage for my channel, and I told him you'll get a copyright strike if you use it. You don't have permission to use this because I can see what he's doing. He's already attacking Senator Harry Reid within weeks of the freaking guy dying. Already tried to call him out as a crook for what was going on and some donations he had gotten over his period of time. And, let the guy live for who he was. And if you're trying to take him and throw him under the bus, have some just respect for the dead, for what's going on. But I don't take to that well, and he's had a close, tie-in with, Truth Seekers and with GoofOn, and it's just there's this whole kind of let's do a negative spin on Lou, let's take everything and just do these personal attacks that goes beyond comedy, and they want to do it in the seriousness, but it's really freaking vicious, and it's just not right.
Well, I think that. To kind of play devil's advocate here for a second, I do think, though, that there are certain points that do need to be clarified. And the UFO community does have a right to know some of the questions that and I've seen the preview, and I think it makes me grind my teeth, much like it sounds like.
Let me know if my clips are in there because
I didn't see any of your clips. But, I do think that there are some harder questions that Lou needs to potentially answer, but that's his choice. I don't think that, I think he also, has done a weird job at going on certain shows and not on certain other ones. I think
you blame him for not going with Rich Giordano.
Well, we're not getting into that, Thomas. We're not
Area 503.
We're not
with Truth Seekers. Those are people who are vehemently against them.
Thomas, I understand that. I'm trying to bring a level of perspective here for a second, but I think a person like Jonathan Davies in the UK, who's done some incredible work, I'm surprised he's never gone on that show. And there's others out there that I'm surprised. I'm not talking about the ones that you mentioned. I can understand why, right? What I am saying is that there are others out there who have tried to get a hold of him, and there are others out there who have got a hold of him and basically wasted an hour, 2 hours just, smooching his butt in order to get nothing out of him and wasting a bunch of time. Whereas, somebody like Lou or yourself or myself, I think we've asked him some darn good questions when he has.
And you
come
know
on
what?
the air.
I have to thank Lou for my opportunity to speak with him, because if I didn't ask Lou, I would never have been able to speak with him. So, Lou, I owe that to you completely for the work, the relationship you have with him, and you're able to help out with a friend to a degree, and sometimes that's what it comes down to. And I'm always indebted to you. Thank you.
No problem, man. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I mean, I feel like he's, at least for me, it's been a pretty easy experience getting in touch with him or throwing ideas by him and seeing what he likes, what he doesn't like. But, I try not to bother him unless it's really necessary. Or, I'm genuinely interested in talking to him. I don't want to talk to him just to talk to him. If any, I always want to learn something about him anytime I do interview him. So, he's been.
And you've had some
cool
compelling interviews. You've gotten some information that nobody else has many times.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's been some good moments. I think my favorite was just talking with his dad. And
that was a killer interview.
Getting to know him and his dad.
Your dad and his dad and Lou all talking together. That was amazing. That was such an opportunity to show not just the hero that Lou was, but also the hero that his dad was and what he didn't try to do for Cuba. That was an amazing talk.
It was fun.
Well,
it was fun. But yeah, I mean, with even that said, I mean, we still have to question him as hard as we can.
We do.
But be respectful.
But there's a difference, though. There's a difference, and I don't want any other podcast names named on here, Thomas, because I know that this is a touchy subject for you. All right, and I know that, and I appreciate what you do. You know that. But I will say this: there's a real difference between doing a real balanced piece and asking tough questions and doing a hit piece. And I think too many times we are seeing a lot of hit pieces going up. I'm not saying that this is it. I've only seen the trailer. Am I willing to watch it? Sure, I'm going to watch it because I want to know. That's how we stay informed. Nicole, you have a comment.
Well, I was going to help maybe wrap this up for you a little bit, because I know we've had these little sidebar conversations comparing Lou with maybe some people in the past that have come up. And I know I've done kind of like a comparison and contrast with Lou to Richard Doty and what he's faced with coming out and staying vocal in the community and the backlash. And I'll point out the movie, what's the Doty one? Where it's very clearly one-sided.
Mirage Man.
Mirage Man. And it paints Rick in a certain light. And that's what every kind of movie maker does. They have a narrative that they're trying to tell. And we also, other than Rick, we also know, we hear from our community all the time, people get edited. I think we saw that in UFO that came out recently. We know Nap was edited in a certain way, and we know John was edited in a certain way, as was James Carrion. So I think when this piece comes out about Lou, everybody's going to watch it. Like you said, we're going to watch it, whether it's good or bad, or it's a hit piece or not.
I don't think I'm gonna watch it.
Well, you might watch it only 5 years from now, though. You might watch it.
The only reason why I'm not gonna watch it is just from a production standpoint. It looks terrible.
Well, honestly, I kind of watch everything in the community, so I can really note it somewhere and gauge and level. But what I'm meaning is, everybody will watch Mirage Men and form an opinion. If you stay dogged and with your research, then that's when you kind of realize, that's a one-sided story. It's not true or false or this way or that way. It's just from a certain perspective. And that's what we're going to see about Lou and this. And it's going to give people a place to dive in. If they're really confused or they're really PO'd about it, or they think it's true. It's going to give them the opening to the rabbit hole. And there you go. So take it for what it is. There's all this infighting and malarkey surrounding this. And that's what I hate about our community. It's just dumb.
All right. You know what? When we come back from the break, we're going to continue as we kick off hour number 3 with our great panel of Lou Jimenez from Unidentified Celebrity Review, Disclosure Tonight's Thomas Fessler from Spaced Out Radio's After Hours and our TikTok channel, Thin Lizzy, and Nicole Sakach. We're going to continue it all when we return. Credibility attacks. You heard a little bit there. We're going to get more into it in the community when we return. Tom, I didn't mean to cut you off there for a second.
Don't worry about it. We're fine.
But my big thing is the YouTube audience knows who you're talking about. My radio audience doesn't.
Oh, that's fine.
So
that's good.
That's my only...
I'll learn quickly.
Yeah. Well, there's certain things we don't want to promote, but...
Oh, I know.
Look at Lou Jimenez there. That man looks like he is going to be at our Vegas party, April 22nd to 24th. Yeah, Lou is going to be doing tequila shots out of my belly button. It's already been confirmed.
Ooh, wow.
No,
that
I'm
is
teasing.
I don't want to repeat.
Oh, you're just jealous because you're not going to be there. No, I'm teasing. It's not the belly button.
Yeah.
All right. Well, challenge.
No, there's no challenge there, dude. There's no challenge there. Challenge declined. First down repeated.
If I could get out of the house, I would love it.
Dave, is toast okay to eat outside of the breakfast times?
No.
Okay.
No, it's breakfast
Is it
food.
French toast?
Well, hold on a second here.
But toast, when you put it on French onion soup with cheese?
Garlic toast is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, garlic toast. I think if it's garlic toast, it's okay. But if you're spreading some jam or peanut butter on there, that's just breakfast bullshit right there.
So
is grilled
savory
cheese
only.
Oh, grilled cheese.
Is grilled cheese considered toast?
No, it's a sandwich.
Fancy
It's
toast?
a heated sandwich.
It's
No,
a
it's
toasty
not.
cheese sandwich.
I'm going to go with the cook on this one.
What is that ham and cheese sandwich they have almost with French toast that's cooked at lunchtime? I forget what it's
A Monte
called.
Cristo?
A Monte Cristo.
Where they
Yeah.
deep fry it and smother raspberry sauce on it?
Now, on
I
a
don't like
BLT,
mixing.
if you order a BLT, that works. So I would say, I would say that you could, but you can't have it individualized like on a plate of toast unless it's like garlic toast.
So you've never between like dinner and lunch just grabbed a piece of toast, threw some jam and jelly or butter on it and eaten it for like a snack?
No.
I'm calling you out, Dave.
Butter on bread or butter on toast was something my grandmother would have done all the time.
He's a bagel snacker.
I do eat
bagel
bagels.
snacker.
I do eat bagels with some nice cream cheese on it. I will eat a bagel.
At like
Toast
8
Sliced
o'clock at
onion and
night.
tomato and
Toasted
a little bit of
bagels?
pepper.
I mean, that's
I'm
breakfast item.
That's breakfast.
It is
at
not.
dinner time.
It's a universal snack, a bagel.
No. An everything bagel, no less. That makes it even worse.
It's got some nice spice on it. You guys are ill. All of you.
You're coming to the dark side. You're going to be on this at midnight. Just wait.
I had a vegetarian dinner tonight, and I am hangry as anything right now.
That makes me want to fight an octopus. What?
Octopus? Oh, no,
Yeah.
they're sentient. You can't eat them anymore.
Yeah,
No
you
more
can.
taco.
Yeah,
You can, but yeah.
You can.
My followers and the SOR listeners know about the filthy octopus.
Oh, well, the octopus is more likely to be an alien than humans. We're just the aliens are
agree.
just our missing link. They're probably from another planet.
Yeah, I think the new Twilight Zone had an episode and they had an octopus, and then it kind of had something to do with it being from, outer space.
Did you watch the
intelligence.
last season of American Horror Story though?
Yes, I did.
That was really good with the whole
guys are the
tie
best.
back to the whole Eisenhower state and everything.
The best octopus scene in any TV show streaming thing has been on the OA, where in that second or third season, the octopus is like on her head and they're like channeling each other through space-time dimensions or the afterlife, whatever it is. Like, that show was good.
Yeah.
How about Tom and Jerry,
the
where the octopus gets stuck on their head?
It is. It's like
Tom and Jerry.
I like you gotta think about the mermaid, the octopus in Little Mermaid.
Ursula.
She was an octopus.
She was a sea witch.
She was my ex-mother-in-law.
Mm.
Yep. Same attitude as my ex-mother-in-law, Ursula. Can't stand her.
Yeah.
Can't stand her.
See, my old ex-wife, she was part of a family of trolls, so I understand.
So sad, but true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Sandra was mentioning in the chat, Resident Alien talks to an octopus, and that I think season 2 just came out, so I'm excited to see that.
We got 1 minute, guys.
This is like an Umbrella Corp octopus. We're talking
Interesting
about
thing,
Resident
Lewis,
Alien,
Adrian
right?
Reister was just on your show. The thing that you could have been chasing could have got camouflaged like a cephalopod, potentially.
That's an
And
interesting
you
idea.
couldn't see it.
So, you guys, just on a whim, all these fighter jets have been flying over like Oregon and Illinois, and people have been reporting these sonic booms and stuff. Well, I saw these 2 jets like 3 weeks ago, and what I noticed was there was 3 X's in the sky when I was driving home. And I was like, what the heck? This is crazy contrails. And then all of a sudden I'm coming down the highway and I see this jet shoot
15
straight
seconds.
up and spinning. And another one comes shooting across.
It's the Blue Angels.
And then this blurry, oblong, reflective thing darted in between them.
Okay, I got to stop you. I got to stop you. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate hurting your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Habalabble. Habalabble is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the roundtable discussion from Disclosure Tonight. Thomas Fessler, Nicole Sakach is here, researcher and author. Lizzy Borden is here from our TikTok channel and After Hours. And the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Super Lou Jimenez from UCR. I was going to say UAP. UCR, Unidentified Celebrity Review. We're going to continue on here because a lot of times what we are seeing, and we got a lot of hosts here, and people have done a lot of interviews as well, is we are starting to see with a lot of podcasts, YouTube channels, a lot of credibility attacks. That's the way I'm going to call it. Okay? This is a very, very tough discussion, but in the search for answers that people want, we are seeing people really start to beat up credibility of others. We saw this very clearly with a very popular podcast on YouTube, Kurt J. Mungle's Theories of Everything, where Linda Moulton Howe who has been in this industry and this field literally since they were banging out information with a chisel on granite stone, had some right at the end of the interview, had some very tough questions asked about her credibility in her research. Now, I understand that tough questions need to be asked. I also understand from a journalistic level that we need to be able to ask tough questions. But at what point has this community really drawn a line between asking those tough questions and trying to really put a chip in someone's credibility or their years of work? Lou, I want to start with you on this one.
I think it's, for me, in this time and where this discussion is, I think some of these questions are warranted and they need to be asked. There's no easy way to ask a tough question. And I know Kurt, especially if you've watched a lot of his channel, there's no malintent with what he's trying to do. His discussions usually go for about 3 hours.
Yes.
And the guest decided, no, I'm going to cut it now, an hour shorter, because the questions made her uncomfortable. And for me, being someone who has done a lot of improv shows and has to think on their feet, and also does my show, and there's always awkward moments that happen, especially when you're doing stuff live. There's never. I just feel like there's, from his point of view, there was nothing malicious about it. He had to think on his feet, and he had to cut to questions that he thought hadn't been asked yet. And again, coming from a place of naivete, like he said he was coming from, it's the I think there was 3 questions that set her off. And it was the first question about Richard Doty and how maybe the information that he fed her was incorrect, which I think is a fair question. Then the second question about the video game cover from someone who's just very pushy with how they ask for information. And I think Kurt didn't really know that. And so the question...
He knows who Steve Cambion is.
You think he watches Steve Cambion's show?
Yeah, of course he does. He's
Why would you say that?
Specifically that he goes to Steve Cambion and to alien scientists for guidance on how he handles some of these questions. So that's something he's been open about.
I haven't heard him say that, but okay.
I mean, even so, I think that was the one question that was a little awkward when he asked it. And then he asked my question, and then that's, and then she got really upset. I respect Linda Moll now. I understand her history. I've bought her work. I've spent money on her products. So I've got a little bit of skin in the game. And for me, that interview is really telling. That, if you are as media savvy as she claims to be, those questions should have been very, very simple to answer. Yeah. Very simple to just give her explanation and move the interview forward, but without being an awkward, silent, like, I guess it was just it was a very awkward way to answer those, right. I think.
But she's always been so confident of the information she has, how she brings it forward and everything. I think it was that second question that hit her about the stuff that was on the site. Now, here's the thing about Linda. She's not the youngest person. She's 80 at this point or beyond that. So she's at a point where she's been doing this for 60 years, and she has some people who she's delegated to go ahead and towards this, to go ahead and handle her media empire and putting the stuff out, putting things up on the site. And she has would think that at this point, a lot of the stuff is delegated, and she has a certain level of trust. Now, if someone who was doing the stuff for her didn't have that same level of precedence and understanding of how she was treating something, and they were more of someone trying to do something to say, hey, I want to get this out here. I want to make this to be important. This is so important for Linda to get there, but it's something that's from something that hasn't been validated. Yeah, she has to own it, but for her, it's got to be a hit for her for getting, for something getting out there that may or may or not have been correct. And it begs the question, if you knew that this wasn't correct, do you sit there and you keep it quiet, or do you go ahead and send an email as a question? Do you say, hey, you've got this out there. Have you realized this is what it is? So it depends on what's the intent of how they want to bring it forward. And
but you know what, though?
No one's perfect in how they handle stuff, Dave.
I know where you're going with this, okay? And maybe I can add a little bit of clarification. As a show host and a business host, sometimes you do not catch everything, okay? Sometimes you do not catch something. Look, I know for a fact that an entire feud was started with my show because I didn't catch a comment in my chat room. And so I mean, that's how things can blow up very easily. But there's a big difference between, I think it was Kurt, and I'm not picking on Kurt and Lou. I have watched a number of Kurt's episodes. I think he's been spectacular, and I think he sets a good example for a lot of nice calmness and very great clarity and thoughtful questions. I think he does need to be commended on that, but on this one, I think he dropped the ball a little bit, especially with the follow-up question where he says, well, I'm paraphrasing here. He said, well, you used to do some very credible work. What's happened? Right? Right? I mean, that one. Yeah. I mean, that one was just a kick to her teeth. But this isn't just. Yeah. But go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You finish your thought.
Okay, sorry, but I think it's bigger than that. I'm using this one as an example. I don't want to pick on Kurt or anybody else, but I think in this community, because there is a real lack of journalism and a real lack of understanding, and the dire need to try and get answers, I think we are starting to see a little bit more hit pieces on people, whether it's rightfully so in people's mind, or whether they justify it, or whether they literally think that this is the way they're going to make a name for themselves. Like, why does anybody talk about Corey Good or David Wilcock? I mean, if you hear anybody talking about them on podcasts or YouTube channel, all they're doing is wasting 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes insulting them. Why give them the time?
I mean, quick thing. I've had some people on my show. Sometimes you would say, why would you have someone on your show who did that? And I had some people come after me and attack me because I didn't ask the hard questions. I asked the hard questions of the things that interested me, the things that I felt my viewers would respond to, and there were certain subjects and areas of that I just completely left off the table because the last thing I wanted to do was bring my audience or my guests coming in from that one show and take them and shove them off the stage for a small percentage of what I'm trying to prove myself for. There's a respect you give to the people who are coming to your show or different stuff to kind of get there. And if you're not going to give them that level of treatment, you have to be up front and let them know ahead of time so they're not going to get the surprise gotcha when you're going through it, because It's like inviting someone into your house and then treating them away that should be anything less than that. And if it's not going to be that, give them what they deserve.
Yeah. Lou, I know that your show recently took some heat with Rather Be Squidding. Mm-hmm. Okay. I like Rather. I think he adds a dimension to your show and everything. I didn't have a problem with what he was doing. He was asking some pointed questions that needed to be asked. I think it was fantastic, because sometimes we have to have the due diligence to ask those questions. Now, people may not have liked the way he phrased them, but the questions, I thought, were great. I did. All right. And that is the big difference. Do we know how to ask these questions of these people if we're asking them for their time? That's the big thing that I think the community needs to figure out before someone just decides, oh, I'm going to be a podcaster. Look at me go. Right? Lou Elizondo, Men in Black, tell us about your encounters with aliens. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple things that's going on here. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because I mean, I see it both ways, and so like for her, I could see it. It was, questions like at the very end, and that's where it's like, if she's flustered, and she could feel attacked when he didn't necessarily mean to attack and just thought of those, thoughts at that point. Now, it's not saying, oh, no, don't, she shouldn't get those answers, but it's like, I see it where, some people see it this way and some people see it, another way.
Wasn't it her birthday? I think it was like her 80th birthday, and
I know. I think it was just like I think maybe the 20th was her birthday.
I thought it was right around the same time. Yeah,
and so it's like I see it. It's like two friends that are. It's like there's stuff on both sides. Now it's like I don't know if it was necessarily malicious, but I could see her being defensive and taking it that way. But, it's like I don't necessarily think the intention was to do that. And so, who knows?
Well, I mean, the big thing is this. Every guest needs to be treated differently. So if you have someone on like Lou Elizondo, you're not going to, or in Lou's case, John Ramirez, or somebody of that ilk, you got Chris Mellon or whoever, you cannot interview that person the exact same way as you would, say, a Joe or Jill Sixpack who's had a lifetime of experiences and just wants to tell their story because they want to know what's going on in their life. Yeah. You have to be able to balance absolutely everything that goes along with that. I mean, this is also part of the issue. This is why I never had an issue with what happened on one certain show from a certain person who is on our panel tonight, and I did the other way, because you have to be able to balance who your guests are. And if you have a guest who's talking about the government side of everything, okay, much like when I first interviewed Tom Whitmore about MUFON's issues, where they were denying that they had ever sold out, and I hit him hard. I made Tom feel uncomfortable, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's doing our job. But there's a difference between making it personal and doing your job. And I'm not sure that many in the community fully understand that. Nicole, you've been pretty silent through this. I know you're writing notes.
This fired me up a little bit, mainly because I think Linda is a treasured monument in our community and should always be treated as such. But with that said, from an outsider's perspective, like Kurt's, when you come up against somebody who's a powerhouse like Linda and Grant and others, and we've watched their decades-long careers here, and people like to paint them in these pretty little boxes, like Linda way back in the day was the cattle mutilation lady. And that was something very tangible that you could chase down. And Grant coming at this from the nuts and bolts, I'm going to figure out this phenomenon through the presidents and the White House and the government. Those were the main veins. So as soon as these people's work over 30 years kind of takes this turn into the woo, That's how it's perceived from the outside. But in our community, we see it. We know the difference between the extraterrestrial theory and where Jacques Vallée has taken us from there. People don't realize that's a division in our community. People follow one and buck against the other. And that's what I think Linda does beautifully with her research, along with Grant and a few others. They're pushing this envelope. So they do come up against those people who don't travel in those circles yet, or who haven't taken their research that far. And if you listen to each of them, I think they've said it numerous times, like, it's not like Linda just woke up and was like, Homo sapiens sapiens, Antarctica, just like Grant didn't wake up one day and go, it's all consciousness.
Yeah. But it also comes down to
for them. So.
It comes down to Kurt as an interviewer. I mean, after the first question, you could have seen how Linda was reacting.
Right.
After the next question, there was an escalation of how she was reacting. If you're going down a line of things and you're seeing your person who you've brought in as a guest is responding in this way, the only reason you're going to continue to go down that line is because you have a lot more going in that area.
And I don't know, does he not have people that like help him with his show, like
he said that Jeremy Reyes from Alien Scientist and Steve Cambion are people who are guiding him to help him understand some of these things.
I don't know, though. Like,
I did hear that too. I can confirm that.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I know, like, when Grant is talking with all of us and we're doing a panel discussion, I mean, all of us, like me and months ago, Sinead and Desda or whoever we're, like, kind of working with, we do kind of run down these things. And it's like, oh, this could be a problem. But if he's seeking advice from Cambion and Cambion...
Exactly. And we've got someone who's making decent money. He's bringing in 500,000 viewers per a lot of his videos. So there's a lot of exposure going on. So this is something that's being run as a professional operation that's going on. So we can look at someone and say, well, it's just him. Maybe he didn't see it. But you also have to look at the professional side of the fence and where things are at. And everybody makes mistakes, but it's just a matter of, can you help someone and when they've gone down the wrong path to try and help them see possibly a more centered, balanced perspective.
Well, that's what the lesson he's learned is that, for every Cambion, he needs like a Wooster,
or just pull
them
back
darn
to the
Woosters. They'll get you in trouble every time. Yeah.
I don't know. I have gotten flack from this community, which I think our audience here has kind of heard me talk about over the years. Like, I came from this very nuts and bolts side of the community. And when I decided to throw on the woo hat, I started getting called the disinformation artist. That was like one of the first things out. It's like, oh, she's turned from this nuts and bolts, document orientated case by case researcher to, often I've gone native, you know what I mean? And that was a hard pill to swallow. But then I just realized it's just all background noise. Like, who cares?
No, very, very much so.
Time will tell. Like, I don't know. What have I been, dishonest or I can't, in this world of woo, where's the facts? You know what I mean? It's like everybody has their own truth and you just have to help people share it. And
you're never going to please everyone.
Right.
And but so it's like, it's always,
I don't think these outsiders realize that. Like Kurt, they're kind of skirting this community and they don't realize all the little facets and the infighting. Like, does Kurt even know if he follows the ET theory or the multidimensional ultra-terrestrial theory? Like, you ask somebody on the street that, and they're like, what? ET phone home. That's it.
Well, he's getting the viewership. And that's all that matters, because in the end, the viewers, the subscribers, they lead to some pretty good paychecks off of YouTube. Let's just be honest there. We would all love to have those YouTube paychecks that he and other channels like his are getting with that amount of subscribers. And, I think what it comes down to, is we all ask questions that we wish we would pull back. We all wish that we got that second chance in order to do it. But sometimes you have to take some heat, and that's exactly what's happening. So it goes with the territory. It goes with the power of the microphone. It goes with putting your face right in the line here of fire. On that note, we have Lou Jimenez from UCR. Disclosure Tonight's Thomas Fessler, Nicole Sakach from her authoring books with Grant Cameron and their research together, and from After Hours on Spaced Out Radio and our TikTok platform. We got Bree, and Lizzy, Borden. We're going to continue on. When we come back, the loss of a legend this past month. I'm still not over it. Butch Witkowski and the legends that we have in this entire phenomenon. Next on Spaced Out Radio.
That's another crux to all this, though, too, is there's that line between YouTubers making a show and putting out something and people researching. And I think people who tune in maybe don't know the difference between the two people all the time, or the two all the time. People give me advice on how to do my YouTube stuff better all the time and tell me I should have an intro and I should edit and I should do this. And then it's like, I have to remind them, I don't do a show. I just put my interviews on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, it's very different. So Kurt is doing the show. He's trying to figure things out. He's not like, this is how it is, people. He is being all encompassing. I'm just glad he had Linda on. He needs to have Grant next.
Well, I think from my personal point of view, and this could be an unpopular opinion, for me, I don't think Linda Moulton Howe's research is very good. And that's someone who's looked at it and bought it and paid for it with his own money. I've never really bought the cattle mutilation part of this discussion. The thing with Kurt is that he's one of society's great thinkers and philosophers, and he's speaking with some of the greatest minds.
Yes, he is
on the planet. And so, what's more valuable? Him in the community or him out of the community? Because all of this Monday morning quarterback that people are playing with his interview, what if it drove him away from even talking about this topic anymore because he's sick and tired of the vitriol and the unwarranted
maybe we
sort
could
of
get him some
hate.
better guidance than Steve Canby.
I think
Jeremy Ryan.
I think if that interview went as long as his normal interviews go, I think those questions would have been laid out a lot better. But because of the awkwardness of the conversation that was brought on, not by him, by her uncomfortability with the questions that were being asked and putting the awkwardness into the interview, I think that's an unfair setting to try and get questions in. And so, again, like for me, his delving into this topic, a mind like that, to me, is a lot more valuable than what Linda Moulton Howe is bringing to the table. The greatest minds in the world are not talking to Linda Moulton Howe. They're talking to Kurt Jimungle.
True.
And there's a reason for that. And I don't mean that from a place of disrespect. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think that's what the part of the community will say. Oh, how dare you? How dare you question the great Linda Moulton Howe? It's just like, why can't I? Why am I not allowed to question this?
I think Linda can be questioned, and I don't know anybody that agrees with all of everybody's research or what they dig into. But I think what I duly note about Linda in her massive career is you start looking at the players, the Cosmic Club players, and you look at those like high ranking ones that are like, you know, number 13s and 14s. I say a lot, all roads lead to Hal Putoff. Well, people ask Hal Putoff all the time, like, who in the community is doing solid work, and who do they always say? Linda.
Yeah.
Linda's right up there. Like,
the easiest way to solve this is literally anyone who's going to be going in anywhere. Make sure the people provide the questions you're going to get in advance, and there's no questions asked. And maybe you'll bring a higher level of professionalism to the shows on YouTube and leave those hidden gotchas are there. It's something that a lot of people do require if they want to go ahead and go through this. Some people don't want it, some people do. But if there's someone who is in a particular state of mind or different ways to handle it, it's just a way for the show that's going ahead and asking the questions to go ahead and not put the people in an uncomfortable situation. Let them know where you're going to go ahead of time. And if they don't like where you're going to go,
that onus is not on the person asking questions, Thomas. That onus is if there's something that you don't want to talk about when you go in an interview.
I'm just saying if
that's
people are
on
like that,
you to let the interviewer know, hey, this is off limits. I never ask the guests, hey, is there anything that I can't talk about? We just talk about it.
Or, no, not that. Just go ahead and provide the questions, the things you want to ask about in advance. Not that it's a requirement for it. I got to cut it off. But if it's a way, if you want to get it, that's the Hollywood way in a lot of ways. What do you think, Gary?
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is Spaced Out Radio Show, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we bring in our panel. We got Bree, Thin Lizzy Borden from the After Hours on Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel, as well as our TikTok extraordinaire. We have Nicole Sakach from... she's an author and a researcher with Grant Cameron. Disclosure tonight's Thomas Fessler, and from the Unidentified Celebrity Review, we have Lou Jimenez, who always has his cape on, and we love him for it and call him Super Lou just for that. Now, just over a week ago, we lost a big-time family member here on Spaced Out Radio in the legendary Butch Witkowski. And this one hit me pretty hard because Butch had been a monthly guest for over 6 years on this show. And our next show is going to be a tribute to Butch Witkowski, which would have been his episode of Strange Days for the month of January. And we're going to bring in a bunch of his close friends to talk about the gentleman that he was and is and will be remembered by. But the reason why I bring this up is not just because this has affected what I do and what our show does and our audience for listening in, but we have to realize that a lot of our people that we grew up to are getting to that point. I mean, a couple of years ago, we lost Jim Mars and Stanton Friedman very close together. You know, other people have been lost. J.C. Johnson in the crypto world. We've lost a number of big-name people during this time. And the question is that I have for the panel is this. Do we, as more people have joined this community, are we taking enough time to learn from what these legends have studied for 30, 40, 50 years regarding this phenomena? It doesn't matter whether it's UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, or anything like that, because that's a lot of years of information to just ignore. And Nicole, I know you work closely with Grant Cameron, who is a legend in this field. I want to start with you on this one because, you know, you work with Grant. Grant is a hero and idol of mine in this field. I'm just curious what you think about whether or not we're treating the legends of these fields the way we should with their research. We'll get you to unmute your mic there.
I think it's hard to fight time on a lot of these, with a lot of these researchers that have passed. Like Stanton, for instance, you know, donated all of his work and research to, is it a college? No, it's a museum up in Canada, which is hard to get to, but at least it's somewhere public where people can go and look at his work, and it's continually being organized and it's there and it's preserved. And you hear of like Erica Lukes, she just took on somebody's research and has their work. And I know Don Schmidt has the International UFO Museum in Roswell, and they archive a lot of work. So I think if people do the diligence, they can learn from this. But, you know, we've mentioned it. We're in a very, like, we want information now. We want the newest. We want it all, you know, who's current. And I think a lot of it's this, you know, pre-Nimitz, post-Nimitz kind of narrative we have going on. And it's important. We have to know about our past. We have to build on the Stanton Friedmans and the Hyneks. And I mean, eventually that list is going to get bigger. It's sad, but it's true. And honestly, like, Grant loves collaborating and working with other people. And I just don't understand anybody who's a lone soldier in this field anymore. I mean, you have to pass your torch, or at least plan on passing it. You know, you're in charge of your own destiny with your work. If you're going to let it sit in your basement and let your kids throw it away, then so be it. But I know plenty of people who will take other people's work and archive it, or just keep it, or donate it somewhere else. Like, I'm trying to plan on giving all my stuff to my local library, just because they don't even have a single ufology book in the damn library. So mad at them. They can have mine. So it's things like that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Grant and I could stop working together tomorrow, but I would continue to carry his torch throughout the rest of my life and push his work. Like, it's things like that that are important. Like, we have to. It's our job in this community. And the newbies coming in, it's our job as the going to be oldies to teach the newbies. So,
it should be. And I think you bring up a good point there. And Lou, we'll run with you next on this one. Because, look, if you look at professional sports, you always have the hotshot rookie who is, you know, on the road in a hotel room with one of the ace or star veteran players. Doesn't matter whether it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey. All right, you always have that hotshot rookie who needs to learn the ropes. And we have some brilliant young minds coming into this field that are asking questions that have never been asked before. I mean, even on our panel tonight, I mean, Lou, you've been doing this a year and a half. Thomas, you've been doing this a year and a half. Bree's kind of brand new into this. You know, I mean, I'm an old guard here at 7 years, and that's not even a long time regarding this. On the podcast side of things, I'm saying, you know, on the research side, I'm way behind. But the point that I'm getting at is we should be, Lou, you know, trying to take that information from the old guard and kind of move it forward and take what they've learned as a free download. Yeah. And then expand on it from there. That's how we're going to get the answers, Lou.
Yeah. document it, digitize it, and share it with everybody. Get as much as the information out there for as many different people to be able to look in from a lot of these gems of information. I know we've got that library up in Canada where they've got it, but let's take all those documents, get an effort together to make them in digital documents, make it for everybody to be able to go ahead and enjoy it. And it's like, when we're looking at the results that are coming in from the new UAP observations that are going to be happening within 2022, we can keep everything locked down until it gets to a point of peer review. But the more access to information we're going to have as a society and as people is going to open our minds to be able to see the patterns, see the information that may be there that was never brought out.
Thanks, Lou. Now, Lou.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I forgot what the question was.
Well, just in regards of taking the newbies in this field.
Okay,
matter.
taking under the wing, got it. I think, I mean, I don't think where we are at today without the past. It's also, you got to also realize, just from somebody who's a newbie. I mean, I've been looking at this since I was a young man, but some people who are new into this, like digesting 80 years of research, that's a tall task. There's a lot of stuff out there to read. There's a lot of stuff out there to watch, and there's a lot of rabbit holes that you can get lost down. So, yes, I agree. I think honestly, I think a lot of the answers are in our past, especially if we could get some of these answers unlocked from, I think, a government perspective, like a lot of these systems that are no longer classified, planes that are footage or pictures that have been, hidden under a cloak of national security. I think stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s even should be released. And we can get a lot of answers from that stuff and a whole new generation of research that is looking at, past decades new info. So I think there's an exciting opportunity to dig into the past, to reveal, more data for us now. So it's valuable.
Bree, as a newcomer to this field, and you're kind of getting into this, do you think that the younger people, and when I say younger, I'm not talking age, the newer people, I should say, let me please re-correct that. The newer people in this field are taking the time to understand the path that has already been laid for them?
I mean, I guess it all depends on the people, because no matter what age, the newcomers, they could have their ego get in the way. And so they might not want to pay respect to the people that have been in this field, longer than they've been alive. Like me personally, like my grandpa saw a UFO. So it's like, it's been in my blood since I've always known about it. So, and I've always loved hearing stories and learning. So to me, I want to keep on tradition. And so I don't mind taking that path. But some people, maybe, the newcomers want the instant gratification. Like, hey, I know, they let their ego kind of get away with run things, so to speak.
Jonathan Davies makes a good comment in our chat room here. He says the new guard think the old guard failed and they want nothing to do with them. Thomas, is that true? Or Bree, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, some people do. And so, yeah, not all the new people are the same, just like not all the old people are the same too. But I think the common thing is ego when people let it get in the way. I do think that they kind of act like that.
Thomas, your opinion. You put yourself on mute.
I got it. It comes down to, the new people maybe looking at the older people in a different perspective, a different light. But we have to look at Linda, and I have to say that some of the different standards and different ways we looked at stuff was probably different 60 years ago than it was today when she actually started through it. And it's a situation to where I guess it's like, there's been this dialogue of the older people need to step aside and make way for the new people in ufology. And there's been comments on that with regards to just some of the women in ufology. And I think there's room for all of us within it. And it's just a matter of understanding the journeys, the different places people have been. And if people want to go ahead and come down hard on other people as part of their repertoire, then they'll just be known for that. Otherwise, people would be known for the different situations the way that it is. And just like there's all different types of talk shows and different ways to go about life in general, we'll have the same stuff in the phenomenon, and just different outlets will be known for different ways, and guests in different ways will go where they want to. And if they feel that they need to go ahead and get more information before they come out because they don't want to potentially be put in a situation or a light, I think it's just something that's just is where our industry is gonna evolve to, just like it did in television.
I think
I was gonna butt in and just say, I think overall, probably the most important factor of past and present ufology, new or old, to the topic, is we have to go back and analyze this over the modern era, if only just to recognize the fact that the phenomenon is continually changing. Like, what was happening in the 50s is not what's happening now. There is an evolution that coincides with our own collective subconscious conscious that drives this phenomenon, or it's at least an ebb and tide of influence. And without the people with 30, 40, 50, 20 years in, we don't recognize those patterns. We don't see how the cigar craft of the 50s and 60s is now today's tic-tac. Like, we need that bridge.
But what if we still have both?
We probably do.
Tic-tac is just a different model of something else. And, everyone thinks that these are utilitarian-based crafts, so there's got to be a purpose for it. Just figure it out.
Just like, beings used to appear to people wearing little space helmets.
Well, back
if you go back, the Greys came about in the 60s. We've seen this evolution of the type.
Look at the old cave paintings on Nicole, where they have so many aliens wearing like space helmets and spacesuits and everything.
Right.
And we're going back thousands of years.
They used to say, "Hey, we're from Venus." Hey, we're from Mars. And then as soon as we learned about Venus and Mars, like, the phenomenon started saying, "Oh, we're from Alpha Centauri." So.
But don't forget evolved. Too, if you go back 400, 500, 600 years, people are also seeing UFOs shaped as sail ships up in the sky.
Right.
Which makes things even
like
more interesting.
Wooden crafts in the sky, yes.
Well, it was wooden because that's what they understood at the time. Mm-hmm. They couldn't even figure out another way to make it beyond what they can understand, what we call that cargo cult.
Or does
and I think there was reports that they're from the moon then. So,
well, look at the ancient Vedic texts, and you have to look back at ancient history. There's a lot of stuff we just really don't know. Humanity's been on this planet for 200,000 years, if not 2 million years. So the question is, what really happened?
Well, that's the big question. And Lou, I want to get your opinion on this. Getting back to the original topic of kind of bringing it even, we don't have a lot of time with a lot of these legends. You think in the next 20 to 25 years, we're probably not going to have a Linda Moulton Howe or a Grant Cameron or a Richard Dolan or many other of these people, Hal Puthoff, for instance, John Alexander. We're not going to have a lot of these people where we can lean on them for that information. How do we step up our game if we can't even combine the generational thinkers on these topics?
Well, I mean, I think with anything, there's always this fear that there'll never be anybody to step up and take the place or carry on research or continue to do work. I mean, we've got really great researchers that have acknowledged the past and are doing really great stuff that I think will be around for a long time, like John Greenwald or, I'm trying to think of some other investigators right now. I'm drawing a blank. It's been a long day, but I mean,
Gary
John Greenwald's
Nolan.
a great example.
Gary
Nolan. That's what I was meant. Avi Loeb, UAPX. What they're doing with their experiments. There's people doing a lot of new experiments and thought processes on how to examine and look at this phenomena.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, everybody always thought, when Michael Jordan retires, that's it, basketball is going to suck. And it did for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And then we got LeBron James.
Yeah.
And then, you got all these other wonderful players that are probably going to break some of his records, if not all of them. So,
we got that way with Dave Mason.
I'm not
He's
worried.
the guy who's the genius behind all the observation gear and techniques and everything they had at UAPX. He may have been part of the Bulls at the time, like Michael Jordan was, but people like that were going to follow throughout this whole thing. And a lot of times, it's not just the teams, but it's the stars who make the teams what they were.
I think you're right, though, Dave. I think some of these, if not all these researchers, should be, especially. Like when I think of Stan Freeman, I feel like there should have been some kind of send off or award show just for him, just to go over his career and thank him for his work before he, I guess, appreciate the people around you while they're here. And, hopefully the work is worthy enough to continue to carry on. You got like David Marler as well. Yeah. David Marler is continuing great work, and his work's going to go to the, the University of New Mexico, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So, there are people out there doing amazing work. So, but appreciate the people while they're here.
And that's a good place to end it right there, my friend. Let's say thank you to our panel tonight. Luis Jimenez from the Unidentified Celebrity Review. We got Bree Thin Lizzy Borden from After Hours and our TikTok channel on Spaced Out Radio. Researcher and author Nicole Sakach. Thomas Fessler from Disclosure tonight. And from earlier on, Science Bob McGwier. Yeah, we love Science Bob around here. We really do. It's always a pleasure to do the final month of the Roundtable, where we kind of get into some great discussion and great debate. If you missed any, you'll have to check out our archives on our YouTube channel or on any of our podcast formats, because it will be on both. And what a great show. Thank you, panel, for a wonderful and amazing Roundtable tonight, because it just made for some great, entertaining radio. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night.
Oh, were we supposed to do that together?
Well, you could have. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home, man.
tape on hum.
Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night.